July 19, 2022. We have a quorum present, so we will do business, and we will start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go ahead and have the highway department come up, Mr. Bird.
There we go.
Good, Steve, how are you?
All right. Shot of rain yesterday. Okay, first item up, I have this year's Distressed Road Fund annual statement here for you to look at and sign. This is for the period from August 14th of 2021 through August 13th of 2022. The current balance reflected is $946,936.90. Next year will be the final year of this payment. This is a interest-free $1 million loan for paying. We'll be sending that payment in with an application to apply again. So it's a 10-year process. So just repeat that.
Thank you.
Will on the application for, when you reapply, will it be for the same amount? Or
Yes.
has that changed?
The $1 million is still the same. It's not gonna cover us.
Third one.
This was our third one.
It's not gonna cover as many miles as.
Is it like that's been going on that long?
Yeah, this will be our third.
So, I think, because I remember voting on this when I was on the council, I'm trying to think how that worked out, if it's a 10-year loan.
It's
You
a
do
10-year loan and
$100,000
then-
a year over
Oh.
10 years. We
Yeah,
have to put it into a fund, and then at the 10th year, we pay it back.
this is my 10th year. I was thinking it was my 8th year.
That'll do it.
Yep.
Yeah, the accumulated interest throughout that period of time deducts off of our final payment, and then we send that back in and then reapply, so. Yeah, the amount has changed, but the amount hasn't changed, but the amount of miles that it covers has.
Yes, I'm sure it has.
I'll move that we approve the annual statement for DuBois County Distressed Road Repayment Fund.
So,
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Next up, the Jasper sanitation site. We're nearing completion of this year's chip and seal work, and we're ahead of schedule. So as previously advertised, we were talking about last week in July, we'd be closing it. We're planning on this week, okay? So we're gonna be doing a bunch of site prep this Wednesday, July the 20th, and have it ready for paving Thursday, the 21st. So our plan is to close the Jasper site located on Chanelville Road for Thursday to give us time to get it all paved. We're gonna move the boxes in Friday morning, and our plan is to reopen Friday as normal. Okay.
Okay. So it's only gonna be closed to one day, Thursday.
One day.
The one normal day, Wednesday's an off day anyway.
Yes, yeah, Wednesdays they're all closed, so that's what we're gonna do, lay everything out, and we've got some dress up we need to do along the outside anyhow, so, make sure we've got our drainage right and get everything prepped and ready to go, and then we'll shoot our prime down on Wednesday for paving Thursday, so.
Okay.
Everything is gonna be paved as close as we can to the boxes. Obviously, we're taking the boxes out to do our work, but we're not gonna pave underneath the boxes. Okay, but, I'm gonna try to get everything as close as we can so we can keep everybody up, on good pavement, so. Our plan, is to look at, considering doing Huntingburg next year.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I just asked that you send an email to the media, like WITZ and WBDC, that way they put it on the news.
yeah, we're working on that.
That way when people complain, then we can say, well, we tried to get it in. Because not everyone will hear it. And if you can send it to me too, that way I can put it on the Facebook page.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Chip seal overlays and patching, we're basically 96% complete. By the end of Monday for sure, we'll be completely done with everything. We're gonna be doing the Jasper site on Wednesday and Thursday. Probably East 36th Street on Friday. And then we've got a small area in Boone Township on 400 West that we're gonna do probably the following Monday. And then we'll be done. So, went well. So we're gonna have a nice summer of catching up with a lot of maintenance work, shoulder cutting, that type of thing. So, also gonna be looking at roads that we're potentially looking at for next year and get an early jump on culvert replacements and that type of thing. So, idea is to stay ahead of everything and keep
How
up.
far, how many feet, or it's not even miles, what's the length of East 36th Street?
Boy, I think it's probably,
Not very far, is it?
no, quarter mile, maybe a little more.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Does that start at Mill Street?
Actually, yes.
Does it?
Yeah, there's a little stretch of Jasper, it might be 200 feet or so,
Okay.
but then we kick in. I'm not even sure what the difference is.
Yeah, I see it on here, yeah. No,
There's a bus turnaround all the way in the back.
And what work are you doing on that road?
Chip and seal. We went in there, a lot of that pavement's old and getting a lot of distress on it. So we went in there with a grader and scar fired it, and we added stone base to it, and now we're gonna put the chip seal over the top of it, and it should be really good. Not a lot of traffic on that road. Any questions on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we want to go into budget now, or?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a couple things that's gonna go with the budget. The first page is an addition where I'd like to recommend a wage range adjustment for our class, our LTC 1 classification. Basically, it's our part-time summer help. We've had a couple of older retired fellows that have been really doing a good job. One of them, due to health reasons, had to retire a couple of years ago, and we've tried to get another one in. The other fellow stayed, and he's got a lot of experience. He's very good at it. But it really is a two-person job. And we've been limping by, giving him somebody when he's needed it, but he's been able to adjust and spray as best he can, but we're just not able to fill these positions. We've gone to the high schools, we've talked to the ag departments at all the schools here. We're just not getting applicants that are interested. And I think we had a discussion about this earlier. The wage scale on this is awfully low, so I thought I would just ask for your consideration for adjustment to the classification. I'd like to propose that the range of LTC 1 be raised the low range is $11.27 an hour. I'd like to bump that up $1 to $12.27, and also propose that the high end of the position be changed from $13.51 an hour to $14.51 an hour. Hopefully with this, there might be a little more interest in the position.
I don't have the, I don't have those classifications in front of me. Do you know how the, I guess the LTC two range, how this would run up against that?
There would still be some room in there yet. I can't remember what those numbers were. I sat with Mark, and I think there's probably about almost a $2 spread between the one and the other.
Even after you increase it or?
If we
before
do
you
this,
do
it probably pulls it to within $1. I thought I'd kind of meet there in the middle, because I didn't want to do anything to affect anything else. This is just like ourselves and Bob Gress's people, and then I think Scott as well. I think we're the only three that have people in this classification that it's going to impact. But that's why I figured I'd go the middle of the road. That way we're not pushing any other changes. You know, we can get this and see if this works.
Okay. I believe this would be something that we would agree or disagree to make a recommendation, but the council would be the body that would actually make that call.
Yes.
I mean, in principle, I agree with it. I don't think we're gonna hire too many people at the range that it's here, and I don't know that $1 will do a lot more, but, it doesn't hurt. So, I just hate making a decision based on not knowing what the ranges are and how that goes. I haven't been intimately involved with the wage study or how the wages goes, but I hate to say yes unless somebody knows that it still works and doesn't mess up anything.
We don't want to start a domino effect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know,
I agree with Chad. I don't think there's very many workers out there in that range.
And to be clear, you usually have 2 interns, right? That work with Brent. They do car counts and things like that. And that's one of these. And then you're saying you have these other 2 older gentlemen. So generally, there's 4 people and you have 1 now. Correct.
I did not hire one this year.
Did you try?
No, I didn't. The workload, I had 2 really good ones last year, and it was one of the things of my workload. Things like going on, I didn't really need them as much this year, so I didn't work on hiring them. I probably will come back next year.
The other 2 departments turned in their budgets and didn't request anything on their same category people. The other 2 departments you mentioned didn't request higher money on their people in that
They
category.
didn't. Okay.
So maybe clarify for me, the current range that the council has approved is 1127 to 1227. That's the start, that's the bottom of that range.
Did we start at the bottom of the range?
No, I mean, I'm asking, is that what it is now? It says, I want to propose that the low range be raised from 1127 to 1227.
Yes. The current low range is 1127. The current high range is 1351.
is that after the 3%?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay.
Again, I don't know how that all works, but I approve of moving it up $1 an hour to attract people.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I agree. I don't know if it's gonna work.
And I'll be presenting this in front of the council as well.
I have it on my desk.
I think what I have here is over a year old. Because I have a low range at 1094 on the LTC 1 and the low range on the LTC 2 at 1202.
Yeah.
The upper range is a little bit more spread. The upper range is 1312 on the LTC 1 and the LTC 2 is 1531.
So if you had 3% to
3%, maybe
1094,
twice, maybe twice.
right? So 3% of what you said gets us to where.
Gets us to there?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
So you're one budget, you're fine.
Okay,
So there we're like a couple dollars spread, I believe.
On the top end. On the
Yeah.
bottom end, it's only like $1, a little over $1.
Yeah, so we can make some compromise on the bottom side.
It's actually $2.20 roughly on the top side.
Commissioner Brown, whenever you're ready, let us know.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. You have any thoughts?
No, I agree. I think it's something that needs to come up to be competitive. For no other reason, just to be fair and competitive. Now, I agree. What does it do to the LTC2? I don't know how many people we have in the LTC2 category, or will we be looking at the same thing there at some point in time? But I'm good with making that recommendation to the council.
We'll make that motion.
I'll move that we recommend to the council to raise the LTC1 category wage range to from $12.27 to $14.51. I think I've got those numbers right.
You're good with both numbers then?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the first sheet. The second attachment here is our equipment rotation. Usually I put a 5-year together. I've got a 4-year here because everything's been so crazy. The 5th year is gonna matter right now anyway. So this is about 4 years out, based on the mileage that we're putting on and the hours that the equipment is generating as well. And like I said, every year this is gonna change because of use, but it gives us a good planning idea to see what's coming ahead. So we can get to that later when we get to that. But the first page of the budget in highway administration, we're looking at a total increase of $7,446. Basically, all of that is due to the 3% increase in wages. Highway maintenance and repair. Again, 3% increase for the drivers, operators, and foremen. The part-time people have got a $3,000 increase here. That would be the 3% plus the wage adjustment that's just been proposed and approved. And also for the assistant supervisor there. We added $1,000 for tools and equipment, basically due to inflation. So we're looking at a $34,000 increase in highway maintenance and repair. Next page, highway general and undistributed.
Can you go back on weed spray? There was a change of 500 last year, 10,500, or I guess for the current year. And you don't need that this year?
On which one, weed spray?
02-01 weed spray.
No, we just didn't.
Yes. We did a $5,500 additional to purchase more. I think our inventories might have been a little bit lower, so that was sort of a catch up. We're gonna keep this the same, and if all of a sudden, demand takes it to where we have to do an additional. We had been, everything's gone pretty crazy right now. We had been getting by with 5,000 until this year, so our plan is to try to continue that.
Okay.
Okay.
Then are you on the next page, the mechanics?
Yes. Looking at 3% increases with labor, FICA, PERF, and group insurance. Those increases were made based on the recommendations we got. Tires and tubes, we're going to increase that $5,000 again for an inflationary number. Liability and casualty insurance, going to need $3,000 there. Equipment repairs, we're gonna add 15,000 to that one. And, equipment, we're gonna be asking for an additional 40,000, which puts us to 267 this year. And there we can go back to that second handout that I've got with you. If you look in 2023, we're looking at a superintendent vehicle. Mine would go down to one of the districts, and then one of the other old trucks gets traded out. So my truck will have over 100,000, and we'll put it down. It won't get as many miles out of the field, so we can still utilize that. So, but we're looking at a boom mower, a mechanic service truck needs to be replaced, and we're needing a heated upright tank. Probably about 10 years ago, the covering on it and the insulation got bad, and it all slipped off, so we had to take it completely off. We put new heated pads around it, and then we had a local contractor spray insulation on it. We've been trying to paint it to keep the sun from deteriorating that insulation, but it's been taking on water, and the tank is getting rusty, and the top is getting very weak, and we got to crawl up there a lot of times to see how much is in the tank because the gauge doesn't work. So we just don't want to have.
What is it used for?
Pardon?
What do you use it for?
It's for our emulsion, our AE90 and 90S, that type of thing. It's a heated tank which keeps the oil warm, so when we load up our Durapatchers, go out patching holes, the oil is ready, and we don't have to wait for heating. So it's seen its better days. It's been.
I think we were talking about replacing that for a few years now, haven't we?
Yeah. It just, other things have come up, and there again, that's why I say my rotation is somewhat flexible unless there's something that pops up as an emergency. But this is the plan, and I think we're getting to the point I can't push that one back anymore. So. But out of all of these, we're likely to ask county council help for the purchase of the boom mower. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Again, 2024. These are all just estimates on price. 2025 as well. Like I said, everything being as wild and crazy as it has been. These numbers will change. So. But
How many boom mowers do we have?
we've got 4.
And what's the lifespan on one?
We're pushing to get 10,000 hours on each of these units, and what we have seen, especially out of this new Diamond, the boom and the mower deck itself, they take a lot of abuse. We're in the trees, keeping the trees back, and that also mows the roadsides and intersections and stuff. So it's been doing a really good job. They do take a lot of abuse, but we're hoping that these booms last as long as the tractor, and then we'll do the trade-in. So what we are looking at is replacing with this newer unit. I think you were all involved and came to the highway garage when we did a demonstration. We were looking at different types of things to work out better, because these tractors here, the front ends have been light. We've had to do a lot of work with them, and I think this current setup that we have with our newest tractor is the way we want to go. I think it'll get us maybe a little bit more longevity. So that's what we're hoping for.
Is that newest tractor, is that the Massey?
It's a massive.
Is that front wheel assist or is that not two-wheel drive?
Front wheel assist, and I
A
think
little bit heavier.
yeah, and I think it's going to take that beating a little better.
Yeah.
I never did see the need for a front wheel assist outside of the fact that it's kind of proven itself that the smaller front end just isn't strong enough. So it's you almost need the beef there to hold up under the strain. So. Any questions on that? Cume Bridge, we're looking at, I guess a decrease of $137,590. Most of that is due to the fact that Bridge 1 inspection has been completed, so we won't be seeing that or the small structure inspection. So we do have increases with the insurance again and the labor. We did add $4,000 in repairs and maintenance, basically with inflation. And that's pretty much it for Cume Bridge. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that one. And solid waste, we're looking at 3% increase there with the salaries. So it's a $7,000 increase for solid waste. And then saying that and we're also looking at to plan paving at the Huntingburg industrial site. So we'll be taking our basically our sticker money and recyclables and using that money to pay that site next year. Okay, but we'll do an additional appropriation before we get to that. And sanitation, basically we moved $250 from office supplies into the uniforms to cover that, and liability and casualty insurance is $1,000 increase, and that's all we're talking about there. That's pretty much the budget. Anybody have any questions?
I don't have any questions myself.
Nope, I don't need it.
Mr. Ross, are you good?
I'm good.
Any opposition to supporting them moving forward with the budget?
Good job.
Final thing I've got, the Lemon Cemetery discussion. Obviously now with County Road 750 West in its current condition due to the mine, there are two historical markers that state historical marker 4 miles on the east and the west side of County Road 750 West. I went up there and measured the distance from the intersection at State Road 56 and County Road 800 West, and ran north up to Portersville West and cut back to the east to the Lemon Cemetery. And it's a little less than a quarter-mile difference from the 4 miles that's on that sign. So I think we can get by with that. I talked with Mr. Hempsel. I think he was the one that did a lot of the legwork to get that site in the historical register. I think he was going to be able to get they call it a trailblazer sign for a marker at the intersection of Portersville West and 800. NDOT is going to be moving those signs to the location of 800 West and State Road 56. Try to do that here within probably the next month or so. We've got some stuff they got to get down there. So it'll be like 4 2/10 miles. So, but I think that's the best alternate and matches the sign, so that doesn't have to be replaced. So that should take care of that issue.
And I went out and ran it myself. I agree with everything you said, and it's a nice place for people to visit. And you get a good view of the coal mine. Yes, you do. If you want to see the big hole, that's a good place to do it.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful part of the county out there, other than the big hole. The hole's not even that bad. So thank you for taking care of that. I think it was a quick action, and I think it'll be nice to have it resolved. That's all we got.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, stay on time. We're gonna hold off with Mr. Wendell for the moment, and we will come back to him. And we will start with Du Bois Strong. Ed Cole's here.
Hey, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time.
Morning, Ed.
Appreciate you. What we do is come twice a year. Obviously, this is the first time, so lucky you get to see me again in the last part of the year as well. So, hey, I want to pass out some information and then I'll refer to it as we go. There's 3 stacks, so if you take one and pass it. And then take one here and pass it. And then also take one and pass it. Thank you. What I normally do with this is just kind of an overview of what we're doing and then and obviously entertain questions. So I'll go ahead and get right into what we're doing. Probably the biggest thing that's taken the most amount of time for me, and it's just been ongoing, and Elmer can attest to this, is this READY program through the state. A lot of it has been office time on Zooms and calls, and trying to kind of keep that process going. Just in short, we had a body of information, and this goes back even this time last year. And all I need to do is say 2 words, and then you'll understand why it got complicated. Federal government. So, and what happened is essentially ARPA dollars, which you had all dealt with previously, were the driving dollars behind this. Well, the state had a body of knowledge, and it was really essentially, I think again, Elmer can attest to this, was, hey, give us a proposal, we'll work on this, we'll consider them, and then, we're going to get the money out. Well, it got a lot more complicated after that. In short, ARPA has an enormous number of rules and regs on what you can spend the money on and how much you can spend it on before you have to do particular reports, and it gets incredibly complicated. Thank goodness, ROI is the folks we decided to work with, and they have essentially sifted through all that stuff, and there's really 2 parts to it. There is the part that they call READY with a Y. I'm not sure why they did this, but they call their part of it READY with a Y, and it's called READY Communities 2.0. Now, I know that this is not your area, but in short, they had a READY Communities 1 about 2 years ago. And we were able to get the funds for the mobile maker space or mobile maker van for the library through that. But that's ancient history and compared to all the rules and regs here. They changed it up to kind of a wide open format. There's $3 million, and you have to put in a proposal by the 29th of July. I'm going to give you too much on this because I know personally you're not doing it. I know, Nick, you've had some interest. I don't even know, Nick, if you've had a chance to look at it, and we can talk later because it's got lots of layers that you can imagine. But the 29th of July, you need to put in what is called a letter of intent. And then they take those, it's really taking your proposal and squashing it to just essentially very, very short summary. And then they review those, and then they come back 30 days later and say, here you go, we think you have a winning one, go ahead or potential winning one, go ahead and give us more information. There's another portion of this. Now, it is on much more of a rolling basis, and that is READY Communities housing. Now, the housing is a little more complicated, but it's in some ways, a little less complicated because essentially every 30 days by the 15th, if you put the money in or put your request in or your letter of intent, they get back to you by that 30 days by the 15th of the next month. Okay, the money. The first one has $3 million. That's the READY Communities. The READY Housing has $9 million in the fund. And since it's a rolling basis, the second one, obviously it will go until it's used up. Now, first one, 1-to-1 match. READY Communities. READY Housing, 2-to-1 match. And that's the short version of this. But there are several people who had put in the original last summer put in that, just y'all come proposal. So I've contacted them either by phone or by email saying, hey, here's the basic information. Use me as a resource. Let me know. Good thing. We have 2 people on the steering committee. That's Bill Kaiser and Mark Schrader. So what I'm doing is recontacting those folks, and I'll be getting back with you, Nick and Elmer, to say, okay, who has put a letter of intent in? Because obviously we want to advocate for our county to be able to get some of those dollars. So try to keep that short. Do you have any questions on that? And seriously, I'll be glad to help and run interference. I know the folks at ROI pretty well. So if you just are going along and go, hey, I'm filling this thing out, I don't get it. I'll be happy to help you, or at least I can point you in the right direction there. They are really responsive. I will give them a lot of credit. I mean, if you call them, they call back. So that's a tremendous plus.
And are you still thinking on the communities one, that they want at least $100,000 project?
Yes, yeah, I'm sorry, glad you said that.
Minimum.
Yeah, thank you, Elmer. The 100,000 to 250 on the ready communities. Thank you.
And that's their match?
That's, yeah.
Not the.
No, that's your ask.
Oh, that's your ask.
That's your ask. Yeah, you can ask up to 250, but you're probably not gonna get it.
Okay, no.
Go ahead,
I'm
you're
not
fine.
sure, I'm not sure
We're talking the same thing. Go ahead, you're
when
fine.
I said that's their match, and you said that's their ask, or our ask. We're asking them for that amount of money.
Right.
So that
You can ask.
if they
up
approve
to-
the project, that would be their portion of the matching grant.
Right.
Minimum $100,000.
Right.
So we would have to come up with a project that is $200,000 project for a
Right.
1-to-1 match.
Thank you. You'd already have at least have to have 100,000 in it if you're out, obviously, if you're asking for 100,000. And to Elmer's point, on the second, the housing side of it, it is more. You can do 500,000, up to 500,000. And you can even ask for more than that. 500,000 is kind of the minimum they're looking at. The 100,000 in the rate is the minimum. So what you can see if you're only about 3 million for the ready communities and 9 for the housing across 11 counties. That's going to make it a little tricky. So they're calling it competitive, air quotes. It's like, okay, it'd be incredibly competitive, sorry. Rural economic development model, I want to talk about that just real briefly because this is something we've been working on for quite a long time with Purdue. And the best way to describe this is we've taken an enormous amount of data, crunched it down to some spreadsheets, and we're finally there to be able to say, okay, where do we go from here? And the where do we go from here is really where the plow meets the dirt, if you will. Not the rubber meets the road. See what I did there? Yeah. Sorry. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is to say, okay, let's look at value-added agriculture. What is out there that we are unaware of that we might be able to, it could be a farmer, it could be a company. How do we advance this process? Ultimately, we believe that if we're not looking at agriculture like we're looking at all the other economic development opportunities, it's shame on us because we've got a huge, and I don't need to tell you, ag presence here, everything from grain farming to poultry and everything in between. So the big plus for us is how do we take a company that says, I'm kind of thinking of maybe expanding or doing more. How can we work with them? How do we get them the right dollars? How do we move things forward? Is it hooking them up with Purdue to get some of the knowledge that they maybe don't have? Where do we go from here? So the rural economic development model is, and essentially it boils down to this. They're asking us to choose 15 companies to visit and go out and say to them, hey, we want to talk with you and see if this might be a possibility. And you can imagine in ag, we have several to choose from. So I'm working with a committee, thank goodness there's a lot of folks out there that know the ag committee better than me. So they're helping us narrow down the 15 that they think might have possibilities. So that's got a ways to go, but it's been an ongoing thing for, gosh, we've been working on this since about this time last year, long-term stuff. Workforce attraction relocation. This is the one that's probably the most showy for us. It's the one where you see either me or Brenda with a big grin and the check and the person that's moved here from out of state. We think it's been incredibly successful. The idea, obviously, some people say, well, it's not hard to give away money. Well, honestly, sometimes it can be. It really can be. And it can be quite complicated because what we've tried to do is make this as airtight as we can, because they have to come from out of state. They have to stay for 2 years. They sign an agreement that says they stay for 2 years. They have to have a job. They have to maintain a job. And they, amazingly, many of the folks, and on a very positive side, many of the folks have taken jobs here. Not all. We've had several people take jobs here. And we've had, we've got our 16th candidate that we just awarded the 5 to. Many times it's a husband or a wife, sometimes it's husband and kids. I mean, I've got all the statistics, but you don't really want to get into that this morning. But it's been an enormous positive because here's when you take all this and boil it down, IU professor Drew Klakic said, look, okay, if you get somebody who moves to your area that makes $35,000 a year, and over 5 years, their impact is $71,000. And based upon that $71,000, one part-time or 20-hour-a-week job is created in the economy. Say you get someone who moves and makes $100,000, and that could be a husband and wife combination or single person. Now you're looking at over 5 years, a $209,000 economic impact, and 1.5 or one full-time and one part-time job has been created based upon their impact. So we really believe, it's more than just handing out money, because I know that I can tell you my neighbors who are 80 and 85 years old, I told them about this and they just kind of shook their head and went, okay, sure. But the whole idea, and I think, and I know you're on board with this, we're competing for workforce talent. We're competing for workforce talent all over the Indiana as well as the country. So folks that we can get here, especially if they have special skills or even if they take a production job, we're thrilled with that because it's a job that's been filled. We also have remote workers. I don't want to oversell the idea that everybody took a job because they didn't. But I think we've had 5 remote workers out of the 12 so far, which is fine because some people say, well, they're not working but they're buying gas, they live here, they pay rent, they buy a house, all of those things happen. So they're bringing, even if they work someplace else, they bring their money back and spend it here. So I know a lot of folks are really concerned about, hey, you really need to require them to take a job here. I'm like, whew, I'm not sure we can do that. And that would be a tall order. So anyway, moving on. Do you have any questions about that? I know you've probably seen that. My big goofy grin, and probably more than you want, on Facebook. So solar farms, and I know EDP is here to talk about their role and their interest in the county. I just want to talk about that quickly. And then LightSource BP. Now, EDP is going to talk about their area that they're looking to put solar panels in, and that would be in the Dove area, where LightSource BP is looking, and the best way I can describe it to you is if you're heading south and the airport is on your left, and directly across from there or west of there is the area that they're looking at. So the area west of the airport, or west of 231 is the area they've been concentrating on. They're not quite as far ahead as far as getting the leases as EDP, but I'll let them make their presentation. Southern Indiana Gateway. This is something that Southern Indiana Gateway Talent Region. What we have done is partnered with 6 other counties to do a deep dive on childcare. We know that childcare is a major problem, and it doesn't matter how much money you make or whether you're a single parent or both parents, childcare, getting accessible, affordable childcare is an across-the-board issue. We believe, we've had two Du Bois County Child Care Task Force roundtables, and we're trying to coalesce around a plan. We've got a ways to go, a long way to go with this, probably another year-long project, but we believe that if we don't address it and try to come up with some sort of idea to be able to make it more equitable, again, shame on us, because it's an economic development issue that is across the board. I have some ideas, but I probably shouldn't throw them out now because they're still a very big time work in progress. So anyway, moving on, don't want to spend too much time on one thing, unless you stop me. Tour of Opportunity, another very showy thing that we do. 578 ninth graders visited business partners representing 13 diverse career paths on May 12th. As you can imagine, getting 578 ninth graders in the places they need to be on time is quite an effort. And luckily, we have a tremendous team of people. We have Patoka Valley, CTE, we have Hub 19, we have VUJ. I'm probably leaving somebody out. When you start naming people, that's what happens. All of the school corporations, obviously, the busing from the school corporations, unbelievably good business partners. I have a long list, and I won't go into that, but just name a few. Tim Clark Cultural Center, Indiana Furniture, German American Bank, Matrix Integration. So we're trying to cover a lot of different career paths. So anyway, no questions on that, I'll move on. Just real quickly, want to mention the papers that I gave you so you understand why the heck I gave them. This first one is pretty small. We probably need to make this 2 pages. It's really just kind of a compilation of some of the activities and projects, and it really is meant to not be overwhelming, but it's meant to say, hey, we're involved in a lot of things, and this is what we're doing at a glance. The other 2 things, we did a member survey, that is investor member survey, the folks that are private investors as well as public investors. Back in February, we were very pleased with the response. That's one of them, the investor member survey. And then the other one is the partner survey. Now, you might say, what the heck is a partner? Well, a partner is someone like ROI, Radius, TriCap, a variety. We work with a variety of partners. So from those partners, we wanted to know, what do you think about working with us, and what can we improve? Because ultimately, and I know you guys deal with this all the time, we have to provide value. And if we're not providing value, then ultimately, what are we doing? We need to be able to make sure that, people say, hey, my tax dollars are going to those folks, and they're doing something worthwhile. They're doing something to be able to help all of the folks in Du Bois County do better economically. So that's the end of my comments, unless you have some questions.
How many people responded to the investor member survey?
Oh, the investor member survey, I think it was, I was afraid you'd ask me. I honestly don't recall, and I apologize for that.
I mean, are we looking like 10 people or like 200 people?
Oh, probably not. More like probably 30 to 35 on the investor one, which we would love to have more. Because we have about 120 investors. Okay. But when you're doing a survey, you get 30 to 35 out of 120, you feel pretty good about that, usually. I think it was 31. The partner survey was probably in the 21 to 25 range. So a pretty fair sample, I mean, based upon surveys.
Okay, we'll check those out.
I will get back with you on the ready
Yes.
community and
Yeah.
whether or not our trails would be a possibility. I mentioned that at the last meeting, and
Yeah.
we haven't really done anything. I did have a discussion with Brent last week, and everything that I shared with you at that point was accurate. You said June 29th is the deadline for the, July 29th.
July 29th, yeah.
For the deadline for the,
Ready communities, yep.
for the charter.
Oh, yeah, letter of intent, sorry,
Letter of
letter of intent.
So we need to talk about that this week.
Anything I do, seriously, because I kind of hate to drop information on people and go, yeah, good luck.
Well, two things. Is it worth even applying for it? And secondly, what does the letter of intent look like?
Yeah, it's really meant to be just one, it's my understanding it's one page, but I'd have to go back and look for sure. It's really not meant to go over the top. Thank you very much. Hey, I always appreciate your support. I appreciate what you do. One quick thing, I want to thank you all publicly for the $2 million that you invested in the rural broadband. That was a huge game changer for rural broadband and getting that done, and getting that to Du Bois REC, and then ultimately getting it the poles ready, that whole area ready for PSC in Orange County. Those were huge things. And essentially, and I know I talked to Chad about it, and I talked to Homer and Nick, I think you were involved even, in and out of the conversation. Get that job thing to do. 2 restaurants probably enough, but ultimately it took some people's plan or the PSC or Orange County Fiber plan of 5 years and took it down to 2. And some people would say, well, that's really not that big of a deal. But if you have very little opportunity for broadband, or you have very spotty broadband, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. So thank you all for make that happen.
And stay tuned next month. All of our partners on that broadband conversation, I've invited them to come to a meeting next month, and one of them has agreed already to be here.
Yeah.
So we'll get an update. We're gonna try to find out how many miles have you run, where are you at?
Yeah.
Those kind of things. I know everyone in the community is interested in that.
I'd love to come to that. Appreciate it. Seriously, it is a huge positive for the folks in the rural areas. So thank you.
I did have a comment from somebody this weekend that I think it was PSC, and in this case PSCI, that they're ready to hook up, or at least they're talking to the end user about that.
Boy, every one of those is golden, and appreciate that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Everybody doing okay? Yeah, forward. All right.
A little longer.
EDP Renewables. Sarah Greenberg and Posse.
From the whole gang. Right. Thank you. Good to see you. Would you like one?
Thank you, man.
Thanks. All right. Hello, thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Sarah Greenberg. I'm the project manager for the Duff Solar Project.
I'm Jennifer Lozama, project developer.
I'm Sarah Salvatore. I'm intern.
Sherry Rinkus, land agent.
Great, yes.
What was your role, I'm sorry?
Land agent.
Land agent.
So the Duff Solar Park is a 100 megawatt solar project in the Duff Patoka Township area. Our plan is to have it fully constructed in 2024, which would require us to begin construction in the fall of 2023. With that timeline, we are doing everything we can right now to kind of finish up our design and get everything in order for that construction. So right now, we're working on environmental condition studies, wildlife studies, cultural studies. We have geotechnical contractors out here. We're also working on a drain tile study, an aerial survey, a road condition study, and as you can tell, a lot of different studies to make sure that construction is safe and we have everything in order to make sure we leave a good impact on the county. So today we're going to introduce a little bit more about who we are, EDP Renewables, and what our economic impact can be for the county. So I'll hand it off to Jen.
Yeah, so a little bit more about EDP Renewables North America. We do develop, construct, own, and operate our wind farms and solar parks across the country. Historically, we are a wind company. We do rank 4th in the U.S. With installed wind capacity, but we are planning on transitioning a bit more into solar and expanding our solar portfolio. We do currently have 58 wind farms and 9 solar parks across the country, which kind of equates to about 2 million U.S. homes that are being powered. And then we are headquartered in Houston, Texas, and we do have 7 regional offices across the country as well. If you turn to the next page, this just kind of gives a brief overview of our footprint across the country. And if you kind of take a quick look into Indiana, that's where most of our projects are. This is both wind and solar. So Indiana is very special to us. And then going on to the next page.
And is the reason for that the regulatory structure of the state? Is that the reason?
Yeah, a little bit of both.
There's a lot of wind in Indiana. The regulatory structure is very favorable for business. And we've actually been able to capture a lot of solar as well now. So most of our new projects are solar projects in Indiana.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next slide. So specifically more about Indiana. We currently have a little over 3,600 megawatts of both wind and solar capacity, whether that's currently operational or under construction. Most of our projects are in the northern half of Indiana, but we are trying to make our way down to southern Indiana, specifically with Duff.
All right. So the next page talks a little bit about our customers because we are a utility scale energy company. We don't actually sell to people in their homes. Nobody gets a bill from us for their electricity, but we do sell to utilities and we sell to commercial entities. So this slide tells you a little bit about our customers in Indiana. Since we've had such a long, relationship with people in Indiana, we have had contracts with Hoosier Energy, ComEd, NIPSCO, in addition to Walmart and Facebook. And so right now with this project, we are currently bidding our energy to customers and we're seeing who's biting. So we don't currently have a contract set up quite yet, but we have some commercial interest in this project. And as soon as we have a contract is when we will have that green light to go ahead and start getting our contractors together for that 2023 construction start date. The next slide talks a little bit about Indiana renewable energy. Like we said, Indiana is a really special place for developing renewable energy right now. Indiana has been a leader in both wind and solar development in the country. And so you can see, besides our projects, there are thousands of megawatts in the queue right now for both wind, solar, and battery storage. Moving on to the next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit about the potential economic development impact of our project on Du Bois County. Duff Solar is a 100 megawatt project, which is a capital investment of about $171 million. One of the best parts about bringing in a big capital investment is the tax base increase and also the direct payments to landowners. So with every project, we are sending checks directly to landowners every year for the life of the project. And through 2020, EDP has paid over $83.1 million directly to over 400 local landowners in the state of Indiana. And this project would just add to that. It would be, multi-millions of dollars going directly to landowners here in the county. In addition, there is a big impact to the local tax base. One example is that in Benton County, a county in Indiana where we have multiple phases of projects, their tax rate has actually decreased because we've been sending so much money to the government that they can ask for less from their constituents. So, that's a county where they have multiple phases of projects, but it's just a good example of what can happen when you're getting so many tax dollars from a capital investment. And then another thing is that historically with our Indiana projects, we have entered into economic development agreements, which are an opportunity for us to redirect abated tax dollars into an economic development fund, which is nice for county commissioners because those are flexible dollars where you can spend that money on anything that you find important. So it can be problems that haven't necessarily been able to be solved, or it could be new opportunities that you just have extra money around to spend. So I have 2 case studies for you. One is in White County, Indiana. They've been able to use their economic development fund in creative ways. One has been a $3 million incentive to lure a buyer to the Indiana Beach amusement park. It was bankrupt and they were able to find a new buyer with that incentive, and now it is open and running and providing jobs for a lot of people in the county, as well as entertainment and a great tourist destination. So that's something that they're really proud of. We've been able to pay more than $25.7 million in tax and EDA payments in White County. And that will just continue to grow with our projects being from 30 to 50 years in length.
What size project is there?
They actually have multiple phases. They have a series of wind farms, and they're about 100 to 250 megawatts in size. But they have, how many phases?
9 phases.
9 phases of projects there. So White County, if you drive through, you'll see all sorts of wind turbines. The next example I wanted to go over was Randolph County. They also have an economic development agreement, and we have spent $9.4 million in cumulative tax and EDA payments through 2021. And we've committed to $22.2 million in EDA payments through 2032. Randolph County right now houses the largest operating solar park in the state of Indiana. That is our Riverside Solar Park. So they've also been able to use that money where they see fit. Some of it has gone to their sheriff's department for new vehicles. Some of it has gone to the schools. Some of it has gone directly into different townships for them to be able to use where they think would have the most impact. And on the next page, we kind of talk a little bit more about the creativity that can be involved in that process. So not all of it comes from us. This is really an opportunity for you guys to have an input. In Randolph County, we learned that folks wanted assistance in utility bill payments. So now there's a discount on all utility bills. And that's because we were able to set up a $200,000 fund to be able to help with that. There's also a community endowment fund in Randolph County, and we were able to spend $14,000 to support volunteer fire departments in Northwest Indiana. So there's, a real opportunity for conversation here, and the goal is for us to really invest in a community and be able to build multiple phases of a project. Right now, we're just focusing on this 100 megawatt solar project, but hopefully we will be able to build out more solar energy in this county. But yeah, so we just wanted to have an opportunity to introduce ourselves, let you know about our project, and answer any questions that you might have.
I don't have any questions. I think we've been doing a lot of this individually, so I appreciate you doing it publicly. Commissioner Hofstadter?
No questions. Thank you.
So, and like Chad, we had a conversation a month ago, probably, and I learned an awful lot at that time. So I appreciate you as well presenting it to the public.
Great.
I'd just like to say that I've worked with them as well, kind of since they've been involved in the county, and I think they've been incredibly professional and very upfront about what they're trying to do and working with the landowners. So just thumbs up in my relationship with these folks.
I think there's still a lot that we will work through.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there yet, but we will do that.
Yes. Well, thank you. Yeah, we just wanted an opportunity to present it publicly, and I appreciate you guys giving us some time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Marky, are you going to discuss health insurance?
Well, I just got off the phone with Mark. He has got COVID, so he is not going to be here today.
Okay, do you have anything that you want to add in that, or are we just gonna open up some time on our agenda?
Well, we were talking, he said he could do something on the phone if we wanted to, but he said he'd rather be here in person, because he wanted reports and stuff like that he's wanting to show, so, I really don't have anything.
One thing I'd ask, and I meant to, I don't think I sent you an email on it. What is our timeline on renewals for either getting, depending, go with Mark's company again, or with our, with those, we're pharmacy people, all of that, where are we at on those?
We are on another year with Gallagher, I believe. Because we did a 3-year deal. No, we had 2 more years. We signed a 3-year deal with them.
I didn't remember where someone reached out to me from another company. And
We get those constantly.
Yeah, I've had 2 or 3 come in my office as well. So I think when that time comes, it'd be good to at least hear them out, a few of them that has come in.
But none of those providers are up for renewal this year?
No.
Pharmacy or
No.
broker or anything?
What about reinsurance?
That will happen next month in August.
That's annually.
And actually, next month, when we'll kind of discuss what, if we want to make any changes to the plan, that'll all be discussed then as well, so.
Did a local broker reach out to you, Sandy, about being on a future agenda?
We have one on next month.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one. So someone from Houchins reached out, and they wanted to be on, and I said, sure, 15 minutes, come in. Are we all on the same page that whenever renewal times come up, it doesn't hurt to talk to other people and make determinations from there?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any problem with who we have, but
As long as
I
they-
think maybe we need to pre-qualify, not just have 10 companies show up and give us 15 minutes.
Right.
But, if we pick 2, 3 of them that we think may work, have them present.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with hearing from them now, even if it is 2 years old. But they need to know that that's where we're at as well, so that they may want to delay that a little bit.
Right. That's
So the
arguably kind of a waste of time at this point.
presentation today might look completely different 2 years from now.
Right.
okay, so if the employee health insurance is off the agenda, then that leaves an hour gap in our agenda. Unless somebody, did you say you had something else?
I do not have anything,
Can
no.
you do anything for us for an hour?
Brent has to do his yet.
I don't have an hour. I don't have an hour.
Between you and Marky, we need an hour filler.
I don't know if you have taken some time, you've got a slot, like Southern Indiana Development Commission is here for the land bank proposal, we can go at any time, so if that helps.
Well, I appreciate that, but I hate changing the agenda, moving things up in case somebody does want to hear.
Okay.
We usually don't have a run on people wanting to see things on our agenda, but just in case they did, I would hate to have you present now and not be here if somebody wants to watch. So, okay, we'll go back with Brent, please, and do a presentation. Thanks, sir.
Okay, I got, first thing is community crossings. Second round of 2022's round of funding is up now. Applications are in. We went through, we checked our list. We wanted to do a lot more, but with the prices of asphalt being what they are, we're only able to do Portersville Road and the town of Portersville. As you can see from the thing, the cost estimate for that is $604,500 roughly. I have a letter, financial commitment letter for that, if you guys are acceptable with paving that road in the town of Portersville. There's the letter. We would propose paying it out of MPH again, like we have the past couple of years. But that's what's going on there. Then I have the estimate with it. So, based on what we did in the first round of community crossings, we were awarded $497,150 was what we were awarded in the first round. $497,150, which means we're only available to get $502,000, roughly just over $500,000. With the project I have done, the community crossings portion would be get is $453,000. So I'm not at the max, but I'm cutting as close as I can without trying to add another project.
So where would the road improvements start and stop?
It's Jasper city limits all the way out to Portersville.
It's a pretty darn long road. You can do that for 604? You're talking from like 43rd Street?
Yes.
All the way up to the bridge town?
So it gets a big road complete in the town and has not seen a whole lot of work done in the past couple of years. So
Will you do the side roads? You do everything, like the one that used to go through the old bridge where that road's been pretty bad shape for a while?
Yeah.
And is this, that's a dumb question, but I'm asking anyway, is this road, as far as grade wise, is this worse than, Kellerville Road or other?
I would think so. Yeah, I would think it's right on the list to get done. It's over 10 years. It's a Pacer 5, so it's at the time where it needs to get done, get complete.
I'm not on that road as often as I am on some other roads, so I don't know. Either of you have an issue with this road over any other road?
I don't. I mean, we're following the Pacer ratings in the timetable, and it's imperative that we do that. But it's also we have to have a project that fits the price range and that sort of thing with community crossings. So if this is the one that the highway department was recommending, I'm good with it.
Mr. Hofstadter, or anything?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it.
You have the financial commitment letter with you today? It's right here in front of us there.
So, yeah, if you guys are, it has to be obviously approved under motion approval, and then you'll need to sign a letter stating that we will fund the project.
Just to clarify, you said the city limits north, and city limits have expanded over the
Yes,
past,
correct.
what is it, 5 years or so?
Yeah, correct.
So we've lost part of that road to the city, so we're still at city limits, which is out
It's
out in Boone Township.
Yeah, just in that subdivision, just north of that subdivision there. Like I said, I have a cost estimate. Anyone wants to see it, but at $89 a ton, doesn't take long to jump that price up real fast. So
Anyone have any other questions, comments on this? I'll move that we approve signing the financial commitment letter for the project.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
okay, next thing is federal government's Safe Street for All financial commitments. Grant. Right now, the county is a phase where we have to do an action plan before we can actually do funds to upgrade a road or create a safer road. So we have to create a plan. So I've talked to LTAP. I think I've discussed also with you guys. I'm going to do a quick recap. LTAP has said it's good to have a consultant on board. They highly recommend having a consultant on board even when you apply. There's other things that have to be done. Me being the sole engineer, one day in staff and all my other work, it's going to be hard for me to complete both at the same time. So I talked to American Construction Point. It's They're a very good planning department in there. They have agreed to do some work. They gave us a proposal and I presented, I did emails to you guys, so you guys all have this in front of you, your computers. Which one is this one? Sure, yeah. For $15,000 to help me gather all the information needed to apply. I will have to formally apply myself, but they can gather all the information and it's just a plug and chug and organize. They did recommend, and this is something we need to talk about, including the city of Jasper, Huntingburg, Bergen, and possibly Birdseye and Holland. If that would happen, their application fee would still remain $15,000. But then also we would have a more broad plan. It would look better on paper. My only hang up to that is, let's say the town of Ferdinand or city of Huntingburg have a plan that the safety project that trumps ours. Are we shooting ourselves in the foot by having a plan that has 5 or 6 city and town problems before ours if we're going to be the lead agency on that? I understand that we are a full county. I do get that. But as far as the highway department receiving funding to better our streets, the other towns have more projects before we get to ours, it doesn't look good. But it also doesn't look good if we're keeping them out. So it's a double-edged sword, if that makes sense. My recommendation is just for us to go it alone, but I am open if you guys would like to talk to Huntingburg, Jasper, Bergen. I can definitely do that. It would definitely cheapen up our price because we could split the cost between everybody, all the LPAs.
So 15,000, whatever, regardless of whether it's by ourselves or we include.
Yeah.
And there'd be cost sharing then by those communities.
Correct.
So we're gonna have to pay $15,000 basically to even apply for the grant, to do a plan, and then once we do that, can you tell us what the second part of it?
Okay, so the second part is if we're awarded the grant. So they presented us another proposal, and this is part of the applications. I need to have a budgetary number and a letter from a consultant stating what it's gonna cost. And that is for $96,165 to produce Du Bois County's plan. If we would include Huntingburg, Jasper, Bergen, depending who would want to do it, the price would go up because it's extra municipalities that they have to go in and investigate and do a review for. So that price would go up. If we would just do ours, it would be for $96,000. The fee for that. Is that the question?
Yes, that's the question I was asking.
So that's what goes
The
there.
thing that's unique about this is usually when someone applies for a grant, it's 100% income and not a lot of expense on the front end before we see a benefit. So that's the part that when I was reading through this, we're making an investment that may not be fruitful.
Right. The nice part about this grant, the Safe Streets for All grant, is that 40% off the top has to go for all these action plans. So there is a lot of money in just for the action plans to create these plans, which is a good benefit. Now it's 80-20 split also, so if we do get awarded, we would pay for 20% of that 96. I don't know if we would, just so we know. But means there's a pretty good chunk of money there to create these action plans.
So help me out here, I'm not as up on this as I should be. The total grant is what? That we would be applying for?
Roughly $100,000.
$100,000. And that is to, what would we do with that $100,000? The 96 you're talking about?
Yeah, we would create an action plan. American Structure Point would come in and do a review of our streets and our heat maps where a lot of our accidents happen, and create not exact construction plans, but hey, this is a project that if we went, let's say from Chanelville and Santee, where we had those lights. That would be a project that we have X amount of crashes in this time. It's the worst intersection we've got in the county. Simply cutting the hill. I know that there's utilities and they would address all that stuff too. If we would do this, this, and this, we could better that intersection, and then that would be a plan. Then they go find a dozen of them or whatever it would be of areas that we need to look at, and this is options of what we could do to fix them. And then it would organize them. This is the top priority. This is the bottom priority. This would be For the bike pedestrian plan, the signs, this is the low hanging fruit. Hey, we could do this, add these signs, and that would be one of those, and it could weigh it all out. So if there are signs that we could add, they may not be a high priority, but they're easy jobs and won't cost a lot that we can do, then that we can do that kind of thing.
So the grant is paying for a plan. It's not paying for any of the
Right.
remediation or any of the work that would be necessary to
Right.
correct a problem,
But then,
fix a problem.
but then next year, when this Safe Streets for All comes back out again next year, then we would have the ability to apply for those jobs.
Okay.
Right now, I cannot apply for Santee and Schnell if I want to try to fix that right now. I cannot do that unless I've got an action plan.
Okay.
So the action plan.
That's where this started, was can we get dollars to do projects, but you can't be on that step until you do the plan.
So you got a plan. Okay.
In your opinion, is spending $15,000 on the front end a good investment to get us involved in this?
I say yes, and the reason I say yes is I feel pretty confident that we can get money to complete the action plan. By the amount of money that they're throwing out, and that they're wanting to get these plans out. So if we come in with requesting a plan, I think we'll get funded to get our plan complete.
So if things go exactly how we would want them to, and we were the sole agency going forward, we'd be out $15,000 for the app to help us apply.
Correct.
And then we would be out 20% of the
The
96,000, so that's another $18,000. We're paying $33,000 essentially for an action plan.
Correct.
So that may or may not sound like a good value, but that value may be repaid in the future, are those projects in the future 80/20 as well?
And most of them are, we understand it,
So
yes.
we could get dividends off of a year from now.
I think it would pay off in the end. We're gonna pay up front, like you always do, but I think it will pay off in the end if we can get some of these problem areas remedied. It's not a federal aid job, where we're gonna do widening roads and things like that, but they're gonna fix areas.
And is this new or is it just new to us?
It's new. This is new.
So there aren't any counties or municipalities out there that started this last year?
Now, there are some that have done action plans because, so NACO and NACE, which I'm the NACE, the previous director, he got it done because he was involved in NACE. They were asking for people to create these action plans. He was in there and got it done, like Harrison County, they've got one already.
Okay.
There's Steuben County, she did one as well. She heard about it, she got invited into the group, they helped her produce one as well.
Okay. So are they now applying for grants?
They're a step ahead of us, yes. Yeah, Harrison County, Steuben County, and Boone County are the ones I know for sure have them. There's not very many counties that do this, just those three that I
They had a
know of.
good experience with it.
Yes, correct,
I mean, I know you know the guys in Harrison real well.
yes.
Well, my guess is the less counties that are in it, the more chance there is to get dollars later.
Correct.
And it looks like it's $1 billion for local communities across the country.
400 million is going to the plan right now for this year. So it's quite a bit of money off the top going to plans.
Well, I know we've got areas out there that we can, we've talked about it. I've talked about it with people in the community. Hey, can we do something about this intersection or that intersection? And the response a lot of times, well, it's a county road and we're limited by county budget.
Exactly, yeah.
And we do the best we can because we've got a lot of miles out there. But my point is, I know that there are problem areas out there. There will always be.
There always will be, but if we've got a plan to rectify some of these, if we got some funding coming through that we can do that, I think it's a possibility. It's, like I said, it's up to you guys.
Do you have a way to pay for the $15,000?
We're gonna have to go back through and look. I don't right now, I just need a direction going forward. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time trying to find a source. Whether I gotta go to council, whether Steve's got it somewhere in his budget, we'll go back through and look and see what we can come up with.
Okay, so I guess I would favor doing it, applying for the grant. I think that's just the nature of how you get projects done today is go through multiple steps and in hopes that you get grant funding at the end. I don't know that that's the way I would do it if I was in charge of everything, but that's the reality of it.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, you have to take multiple steps if you want to get federal dollars. So I think it's worth, it's a long-term investment that I think will pay off. So I would favor doing it. And as far as our next thought would have to be, do we want to go it alone or do we want to bring in community partners? The other thing with bringing in other partners is they have to have funds that they want to invest. And it complicates the process a little bit, but it is, for the greater good, it might be better to do it.
For a county as a whole, from taking out being my selfish part, take that out, as a county as a whole, it's better to bring everybody in because we get the worst projects done at a time. For Du Bois County, to be a little bit selfish, just from the highway department funding, it could, I wouldn't say backfire, but it could delay us because, let's say Huntingburg, Jasper, and Vernon all have 3 or 4 of them ahead of what our top priority is. It doesn't look good if I'm trying to stick number 6 in there for mine, and we're not getting those top ones done. Let's say Huntingburg and Jasper and Vernon decide they're not going to apply for any of these other ones, but I come through and say I want number 6 done. That doesn't look good.
Would it be a partnership all the way through like that? I mean, we're talking about a partnership to apply, to spend the invest in the $15,000 to help us to apply. We're not out any projects, or we're not out anything until they would apply. Maybe Jasper would apply for a grant to fix this intersection. Would we still be partners at that point?
And that's a good point. I don't have an answer for that.
I mean, we would have one plan,
Right.
but we would apply for the grants to help us remedy our problems, and they might be applying some, separately. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. But is it all the same? If it's all the same plan, and Du Bois County comes in and does the line item number 6, I don't know. I'm just speculating right now, so I'm just spitballing. But say Huntingburg has number 1. Huntingburg can't afford to fix their areas this year, but they're going to wait 3 or 4 years until they have the funding available to match. Does that look bad? If our plan at number 1 is not getting fixed, but City of Jasper's coming in with number 5, and they want to get fixed, and Du Bois County's coming with number 6, and they want to get fixed. How does that look on our plan?
Yeah.
That I don't know. It's probably too early in the process to state that. That's just me looking from the outside.
And there's no difference in the $15,000 price whether we do it alone or do it or partner with them. But what about the $96,000?
That'll jump immensely. They figured probably it may be like 100,000 to do Jasper because Jasper, the sheer size, be a little less for Ferdinand. Birdseye and Holland may not be much at all, but yes, there'd be for all of them. It does look better on paper though.
And you said that a while ago, and I apologize, but yeah, so we can figure on the 96 if they're partners or not.
Mm-hmm.
That would be on them.
Right.
Okay.
And really, we may ask the other entities, and they say, we're not interested in doing that at this time. Or we may get a couple partners.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised because Jasper has a capital improvement plan. It's not a safety plan, a safety action plan. It's a capital improvement plan. And I would say safety is probably involved in their capital improvement plan. They may want no part of it.
Yeah.
I don't
I'd
know
say
what
for the greater good of the community as a whole, even if our projects, if the facts bear out that our projects aren't in the top 10, well, our project shouldn't be done first then.
Right. And that's exactly right.
And if we're out $15,000 to find that, if I'm a taxpayer or a community member, I want the most dangerous problems fixed first. And so instead of us thinking of it as us, we should probably think of it as a we.
Okay.
So I would be okay with that. I understand your concern that.
And that's just mine from the highway department. Fine.
Sure.
That's my only, I agree with what you're saying.
You have a certain amount of responsibility. You're not responsible for those on the road. So I'm with you 100%. But I think it's a good path to go forward. I think we should ask the other partners if they want to participate. If they do or they don't, that's on them. That's where I would stand.
And I agree with that, and I agree with your rationale on that. If I were a betting man, I would say our projects would rise to the top because especially the larger Jasper, Honeybird perhaps, Ferdinand, because they may have been more proactive than what we have. They've been able to be more proactive than what we have in addressing their situations.
They've also got slower speeds. They're running at 45, 50 miles an hour in the county where they're running at 35 in town. That's a big deal.
And we have more miles and we have more different terrain.
A lot harder terrain. Yeah. I would say ours are going to rise to the top, but I just got to look at it.
Because some of our rock roads are gonna be less safe than a road in the city or anything. So I think I would suggest that you move forward. Commissioner Hostetter,
Yeah, I would agree.
Mr. Brown, if you're on board with that, you said.
Okay, so what I will do is I will send out emails to two cities, the town of Ferdinand for sure. I will try to attempt to contact Birdseye and Holland. Let's see what I can get done, if they're even interested in joining us in the application. And then we'll go from there. Hopefully I'll have an answer for you by the next meeting. And I'll hopefully have a funding source for us as well, of where we're gonna pull the money from.
I don't want to make it any more complicated, but I'll say this anyway. As far as a grant application, does it have to be an engineering firm to help with a grant application?
Who else?
Or would we, well, I guess I'm thinking of Indiana 15. I mean, they do grants all the time. Is there specific technical stuff?
There's a lot of
goes with
technical stuff
applications?
that's gonna have to happen, yeah.
I'm just thinking 15,000 seems like quite a bit to come for an application, or to me it does. I don't know the breadth of the application.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong. Again, just asking.
yeah. I was informed to get a consultant on board pretty well right away. That's Delta, who I lean on immensely. They were telling everybody, you want to have a consultant on board for this.
And this is the kind of company that could follow us through from application through project completion, so that there's a benefit to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because there also is a webinar, what date is that? August 2nd, so I'm gonna go through that, I'm gonna sit through that as well. See what they've got going on. So, okay, I will do that, and then I will hopefully have an answer of who, if anybody, is willing to join in and go from there.
Thank you.
All right, next thing is, so this courthouse square revitalization. There's a huge void, there's two big voids under the sidewalk under here. There are old coal chutes, is what we think they are, under the sidewalk. And
What, east of the courthouse?
right down below here, right under the sidewalk right below us.
That's supposed to be a situation of
we're-
easy time getting water.
Where we're sitting.
No, not, outside, we're good.
If you
Outside where we're
if you go in
sitting.
the basement, you can walk under there, you see it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There you go.
Pretty cool.
I think it is.
What am I looking at here?
So,
It looks like a structural.
yeah, it's
foundation.
an interesting little situation.
What is
So
it?
this is the outside wall. This is the wall right here,
And it stops.
and it goes back into there. So you scroll around. There's beams and everything. There's
So this is portion under the sidewalk?
I was sort of on the wrong side. I should have went. There we go. So this is under. I'm standing under the building here,
Mm-hmm.
looking out under the sidewalk. There's a void. There's empty space down there.
That's the street.
That's the street right above. Concrete sidewalk is right above. This is bridge decking, the bridge across it and hold it. That was not accounted for when they designed this. They thought it was just gonna be dirt and rock and pick it up, put new concrete and down.
So
This-
this is him standing in the building looking under the road. Basically, here's the sidewalk.
You're telling me in the road, it's under the sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's under the
That-
sidewalk.
Oh, it doesn't go that deep,
that-
doesn't
So
go
that
that
wall
deep.
right there is the edge of sidewalk.
Oh, okay,
The
I
curb
see.
is a curb.
We make an office out of
No, you don't want to get offside of this thing.
There you go.
But either way, something more is gonna be done, pretty much more than the used to be. But that gives you an idea, that's the roadway,
So these are pictures from this morning?
yeah. And that's where I went a little bit down to look at them.
Um,
Something's gonna be done, this is more informational than anything.
So this is in the building?
That's in the building, yeah. We have to, obviously regular construction is gonna have to address this situation. Pick it up, it's more involved than just what we had in mind. They're gonna pick it all up, put new bridge decking down, pour over top of it. Something's gonna have to be done. The designer and structural engineer are creating a plan to do that. I will know more once they give me the plan to the city get approval, our approval, we can go from there. Because when they pick this all up, obviously our building will be exposed. We'll have to put some temporary in, we'll have to figure something out there. I think it's gonna be minor, but something's have to be done. Just wanna let you guys know about it, because I want you guys get questions and say, well, what the hell are you talking about? Not you know. What it is, there is an answer, they're trying to obtain an answer. The structural engineers didn't think it was gonna be a big deal, but we'll still have to, we'll have to pull the old stuff out, build new on top. Okay. After the meeting, I'm happy to take you guys out, actually, it was a little bit. No, that's the other thing, filling it in is not really the most financially feasible, because it's gonna take a lot of material. And there are utilities in there that are gonna be, like the gas line that you saw running through there, that'll have to be located out of it, because you need to have access to that. So that alone, I think is a bridge decking, and going is gonna be the easiest.
Yeah, there's definitely, I've been under there, there's definitely utilities I've taken, phone company and
Yeah.
utility, I'm taking them in there.
The relocation of those utilities alone would not be worth it. Because that was the first thing going on, we'll just fill it up and be done with it, but now it's running through there.
You have a lot of material, then you have a new wall and.
Yep, you're still gonna build a wall, exactly, so. Better off to bridge over top of it and don't leave it as it is.
So that's just for your information.
Yep, because I guarantee you guys will get notified, I want you guys to be aware of it.
Well, will there be a cost to us on that project?
I know you and I have talked about that, what is our responsibility to, up front, as an engineer, up front, did we have any responsibility of disclosure? I mean, we knew that was there, it didn't.
I did not know it was there.
We as a county knew it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was there, but somebody knew it was there.
I knew it, but I wasn't involved.
So did we have any responsibility to the architect designing this, to disclose that?
If somebody did know, I wish that they would have informed.
Yeah, it would have been good if we.
Yeah. Because it would have been included in the plan right away. Now, this is not the only one on the courthouse square. They've just found one in Sternberg building too. But yes, I do agree that we ultimately probably should have. I'm not opposed to us helping. I don't think it's 100% our fault, but that's between you guys. That's your guys' decision, the council's decision on how to handle that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just curious as to legally and that sort of thing.
If somebody didn't know.
When you sell a house and there's an issue with the house, you have a responsibility
Yeah.
to disclose that. I didn't know whether in this whole design process, we had some responsibility there.
There was something that should have been there. I did not know. I'm gonna make that family know. I did not know that was there. I learned
I
that.
think probably the attorney was the only one that knew that.
I would think so, yeah.
I'm sorry, Greg. Looked like you were going to sleep or something.
up here, I'm following along.
That's what's going on there. I'm happy to keep you guys down there and kind of show you what's going on, so everybody can see it. Good for you guys to say, I'll play eyeball one. Okay, last thing, and then I'm out of here. Paving plans. I'm actually meeting, so right before I came here, CalPAR called me. They want to get started on their paving project, so I'm gonna run those roads with them after our meeting, and they could be started by the end of the week, which is good. Rudolph had some delay with trucking. They were planning on starting last week. Their trucking delays hurt them, and now they're gonna be hopefully the 1st of August. As far as Time Bottom and Jasper people is, they don't even have that on the schedule yet. But that's where we stand. So CalPAR could get started here by the end of the week, which is fantastic.
So have we done any
Nothing.
paving this summer?
Well, we did the first or last round of Community Cross 2021-2.
Yeah.
We did those, but what we have bid this year, no.
Okay.
Thank you.
You take that 20 minutes?
Yeah, Brandon did a good job.
I tried to get as much stuff done for you guys.
Maybe sent you guys an email.
Which section?
Maybe I sent you guys an email about her. Is there a timeline on that Safe Street grant?
September, I want to say 15. The application has to be in, but I think it's like that's
We got some materials, oils, and gas. But I know it's breaking. Yeah. Just last night. Well, because I was sitting here and there was two cars showing up. So I'm like, it's not one of them.
Why couldn't he have said that?
Right.
We haven't seen her. Anyway, Angie?
Yeah, I said her, but yeah. She's been in there. They wouldn't change the fact. It seems like they did not.
Well, like I said, it's supposed to be done, so it's changed.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that, parking's like, go ahead and run ahead of the agenda, if somebody makes misses, but next time they know. Run ahead,
Yep.
we're gonna just keep filing through.
Flying through.
It's freezing in here.
Freezing. You got the cold seat over there.
I like to look out the window.
I'll be honest, I got here today, usually I turn the thermostat down the moment I walk in the door, and I didn't touch it today. I walked in and I was like,
This was for their one project,
but I don't have a vent blowing directly on me like this.
That's a lot.
I'm careful.
SRF is the state revolving, so they must have given us a grant on what they were applying for.
Oh, yeah, because it said me, I don't know why Nick is on it, me, Matt Eckley, and Mary Austin. We are pleased to inform you that Du Bois County RSD project ranks within the fundable range for, I guess, state fiscal year 2023. Please see the attached letters, which there's no attached letter.
utility company, local.
I'm gonna reply and ask for that, and I'll add this project.
We're done.
I know Mary was trying to get us money, that's why we couldn't use ARPA money to get,
This is not getting that same way.
So kind of taking the approach, yes, decided to crawl over for it.
I just don't like when they acronyms and don't kind of tell you what's,
There you go, Ryan.
like, you know.
Yeah, every once in a while, when I talk about that, I'm like, all right,
Thank you. Also, the Mount Pleasant County Commissioner.
all the growth out there, so I should, Jasper, I feel like.
I'm sorry, you're telling
I
me.
said all the growth, I think you need to have some sort
Pretty lost up there.
I was glad they went. I was like, "What's all right with it?" I said, "I like it."
Yeah.
No, I think just a discussion. That way we get fired up, so you need a resolution, or what you didn't have one to work, you know? Based on- So lots of things, in my opinion, so that's how you got there to begin with, that's how you get over there. I think there's gonna be some way that I'll be able to get the money to come out. It's not for it. Yeah, so at the time, that makes it money.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
There's no directly outside.
Yeah, that's
Oh, okay. First full weekend in August. First full weekend in August. Six and seven. So I wanted there for 6. So Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. I'm going to the shop on the 3rd. It's getting level. Wow, the level is not coming down. It's got so yeah, I'll push the button and do all those fun things.
went back right to the passenger side. All of a sudden it starts lifting my camper. There's no pressure sensor, so it's like kicking my whole camper and then it falls out and fails. So and get it replaced. But if it's done, I'm all about it. You can definitely use it. So
I need to make it all.
I know it shouldn't take more than a day to fix unless parts are cleaned up. That's the only thing that I've got to hang up.
They go to the tent.
All right, let's get back to order here.
So that's my only, you're more welcome to use it, but
You didn't talk about the HVAC.
Yeah, he did. He just said that those are duct workings. Okay, so the next thing up, we have minutes for the July 5th, 2022 meeting. I'll move that we approve them. As presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next up, we have the payroll from the last period. Any questions or changes there? I'll move that we approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Then we have claims against county and voucher report. Anybody have any questions or concerns with that?
I just got a curiosity question. Indus Smiths, what is Indus Smiths Incorporated?
One more time?
Indus Smiths.
How do you spell that?
INDUSMIS Incorporated.
What numbers?
It's on the front page, I think.
Amazon, Matrix, Clark Deeds.
On the front page. It was more, I just didn't recognize it, and I thought, well, I'm gonna ask what it is. Maybe one of the front page. There it is, 7 page. 7788 is the vendor number.
Like what's the phone number?
41?
That's recorder's office. 46, that's her perpetuation fund. I don't know what. I can ask her.
Well, I was just curious. I mean, it sounds like a vendor of some type, outside vendor of some type, but I didn't recognize it. Not that I recognize all of them, but.
Hi, Jeff. Last month we paid a claim to Indus Miss. The commissioners are asking what that is. Okay, all right, thanks. Bye. It's a book scanner company.
Okay.
She's gonna go and buy it.
I know she did a lot of scanning.
She's gonna buy one from there.
Okay. Otherwise, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Well, take a minute here for this to say that we, 10 people from Du Bois County. I think there are 11 scheduled in total, and one was out with an illness, so we had a number of people from Du Bois County attend the training last week related to our Hoosier Enduring Legacy program. It was 2.5 days, and I think it was valuable time spent. And I just want to thank Commissioner Bromas and Council Burke. There's a couple council members here, Beckman and Fleesner that attended. I want to thank everybody for going to that. I think it was a good way to start off the health program. And our new community director attended as well, so it was a good start.
It was, and, I had my reservations on the first morning, as to where this was all going, but by the time it was over with, I thought, it all came together and it was beneficial. I think.
Definitely.
I appreciate the follow-up that you did as part of the publication of the
Press release.
press release and the cards you sent and that sort of thing. So,
No, I'm excited about the project. I think it'll be good for the community. And Mr. Schneider, I sent some emails back about reporting that may or may not have to be done by the end of this month. And it was your understanding that we didn't have to do any reporting this month based on some changes. And
Correct.
do you agree with that, Auditor?
Yeah, I didn't think we had anything until next year.
We just do it once a year based on our population and the amount of our award.
So I apologize if I brought up something that was not but I read it somewhere. that
No harm in checking.
I think
Other folks do.
If you're over 10 million and your population's higher, you do have to do it.
Okay.
We do not.
Those are, when we're dealing with that kind of money and what that'll do for our community, I guess I get nervous about it. I want to make sure that we're following every rule so we don't have any issues.
I had a topic if you're looking for something.
I will let you go here just one second. I do want to bring up before I forget for the commissioners, we currently spend, I don't know, $3,000 some dollars a year for KnowBe4. That's the product that goes out to county employees to help them not make our system vulnerable, our computer system and our network. The state of Indiana is offering KnowBe4 at no cost to the county. And in a couple months, my suggestion would be that we transfer,
You can't transfer. I've already talked to them.
that we move to that. So we can't, it's not as seamless as we would like.
We lose our current reporting and all of our training that people have done, so we lose all that data. We have to start over.
But it didn't cost anything, and it should be the
Right.
exact same product that we're buying now. So I think unless there's some reason we want to keep paying for the
so
same thing.
what you're saying, Sandy, is just know that we're gonna lose that.
We're gonna lose our current data.
Not necessarily that we shouldn't do it because of that.
No, I'm just saying, we will lose all that stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll start over, and I don't know all the logistics of who inputs to this. I mean, are we still gonna have the same console, or are they gonna take care of it? There's logistics that we haven't worked out yet, but no, I think to save the money, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know if you have to do another training because they don't have it.
I think it's been a good program. I mean, some of it seems redundant, but we need redundancy
Yeah.
to refresh I shouldn't be doing that, and I should.
The current rep I work with, we'll lose him, but he helps me decide what's new out there, what's current, what to kind of go after, but we don't go after the 2 and 3 hour things, we go after the short,
And that's good,
or people won't do that.
right?
But we do have the clickers program and we have the multiple clickers program, so people are in those sessions right now, and I hate to just kind of end it because they are in training.
Well, it's interesting though, you say that he helps you decide that. Who will decide that under?
I don't know that answer.
Will somebody at the state be deciding what?
I don't have all those
I mean,
logistics
from the
yet.
way they were trying to sell it to us was that it should be the exact same product that you have.
Which I think it could be, but in the KnowBe4, there's modules. And that's what you pick is those training modules. And you go in and like we're having trouble with passwords, so we do password training. Or we're having trouble with when we put out the dual, we did a training
Dual
on that.
verification or dual-
So I don't know who picks those or who sets those up. But right now Ryan has been wonderful to work with, and I can't compliment him enough on helping me set all that stuff up. Because it is something to monitor on, new email addresses, take out the old, I mean, we're constantly changing, so it's something I monitor about once a month and spend some time on, so I don't know who's gonna be doing all that.
So I've been looking at technology with the state, and Sandy's been involved in some of that, so if she needs assistance with that, I can help. But, yeah, just wanted you to know we're
I
still
think
working on that.
KnowBe4 is a very valuable service, I think we well get our money's worth out of it.
Okay, and then the other thing on this budget, did anybody have any issues? We looked in order to you, so I did share that with them. I think we're all.
That's what
on board with
I
that.
wanted, because, I mean, it's hard for me to carry your alls without any input.
So that would find in Mr. Chair.
My thing was dealt with the American Legal supplement to our code. I sent out a quote to the board. They were looking for a supplement. Sorry, find the price range here. Anywhere from $1,320 to $2,180, and that was based on, as indicated, kind of in the message I'd sent of how they would be doing it. I was looking for approval to go ahead and give them, go ahead with that. If you wanted to give them a not to exceed, I can express that to them as well. And this is, we codified everything. We've obviously done stuff since then. It's now updating all of that, trying to do that on an annual basis so things don't fall behind.
Is that something that should be in the budget in the future?
That's what I was just gonna ask, where is that getting paid for?
I don't know where it's being paid. I don't have a budget. I'm on a single line item, I believe. I would say that we would, I don't know how we paid for it the first time through.
Did we
Potentially using that and then creating one for the future.
have our miscellaneous operating item, did we spend that? I thought we spent that in full at the beginning of the year, 'cause we didn't.
We spent it this year on White Sky and bankruptcy.
So do you have a different suggestion, Sandy, of what that would be?
We could ask the council for an additional appropriation.
Well, first off, do we think it's valuable? Do we want to spend any money keeping those books updated? It's the 15 books and it's updating the online.
It's online as well, yes.
I think the value's in the online,
That's what I utilize.
but, that's part of it. So.
Mr. Ross? You don't look convinced.
But we're updating the online, this is paying for updating the online as well.
Yes.
So,
There's a book behind you there.
so, we need to, it needs to be updated. I mean, we need to keep it up to date. If it was worth doing in the first place, we don't want to fall behind though.
That's my.
But I was trying to figure out whether there was a difference here between the book and the online. Can we let one go, or do we need them both?
I don't know that we need them both. I believe I utilize the online more than I utilize the book. It's searchable and everything else.
So the auditor's office would keep up one copy, correct? You probably keep up one copy like you have done historically.
Right.
Ordinances.
And I would say that we could check with whoever has those books, their frequency of use on those, because obviously the updating 15 books with pages is where our largest cost in this updating is.
And I'm guessing they're gonna mail us 15 copies of all of those, and we're not gonna find 15 books to put them.
I have a list of all the books, but whether they put them in there or not is another story.
So we can have them bring them in and we do it. I do it, it's fine.
So I know there's 2 there and I have 1. I don't know where the rest
But
of them
whether or
are.
not we need to continue going forward with 15 updates in the future, we can check with all those folks.
I guess my suggestion would be, let's take it in total, let's take the project and get the 15 copies. We'll let Mr. Schneider try to wrangle people.
See how it works.
And see how it works, and if it doesn't work well, then we just won't do it again.
How much are you talking?
I have a suggestion on the payment. We have an ordinance enforcement line of $40,000 that would have plenty of funds in it. We could use that.
And
You can't
Well, we're
enforce
gonna
it
go
if
down
you
to 30 next year, but
I mean,
that
this
would be a
is
good line.
$2,300 here, I think, that there's no, I guess my motion would be that we approve the agreement with American Legal at an amount not to exceed $2,400.
I'll second.
Does that sound reasonable to you, Mr. Schneider?
it does, and I'll follow up with, if Sandy can get me the list of who possesses those books, we'll go from there.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, let's go ahead and let our friends from Southern Indiana Development Regional Land Bank Initiative come on down. Thank you for patiently waiting on us.
Oh, that's okay.
We had all that extra time, and I still started 2 minutes late.
Well, we came a little early. I'd just like to kind of hear how you guys make decisions. Seems like you guys make good decisions, so we'll see if you guys don't go along with what I'm saying here. So that would be what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, I'm Greg Jones. I'm the Director of Southern Indiana Development Commission, been in this region 21 years. Most of you probably know Indiana 15. We are a sister agency to Indiana 15. So I'm basically Lisa Gelhausen for a different set of counties: Davies, Greene, Knox, Martin, and Lawrence counties. Du Bois County is part of the Indiana Ready Regions and Indiana Uplands Ready Region. And so back a few years, the Indiana Uplands did a housing study, and part of that housing study put together different initiatives that each of the counties needs to do in order to help with the housing crisis that's going on in each of the counties. In Du Bois County, there's a need of annual construction of around 200 homes. You can kind of see there on that first chart there. And so one of the initiatives that they really like to look at was a land bank. And typically land banks are organizations that are set up in metro areas, just because the metro areas have that volume of housing that they could get from either a tax sale or a commissioner sale. And when you looked at it from a regional or rural perspective, it really didn't make a whole lot of sense because you didn't have the number of volume of properties that you needed, as well as the cost of staffing the land bank would be too high for any county to really sink a lot of money into doing that. So we've been looking at this for the past 5 years on how we could do this regionally. And then that way you can share costs and the administrative fees that would go along with putting in a land bank. And so SIDC, we actually had to go out and change legislation in order to allow for counties to actually work together for a land bank. But we think it's an important endeavor for the region. So a little bit on land banking, because that's not always a known issue or known entity that people want to use. So land bank, what it essentially does is it creates a mechanism or a specialty tool for the counties to be able to give property over to an entity, a not-for-profit. So a not-for-profit would be established for this land bank. That not-for-profit would assess different properties that are on the commissioner sales. Most of the sales that we see, there's a lot of no sales that happen, or the counties have an inventory of properties that are difficult for them to market. And so typical counties, there's probably 30 to 50 homes that you're kind of looking at trying to prioritize to see whether that land bank is the right entity to take on that property. What the land bank allows you to do is, secure the property and then be able to get it in the hands of the right people in order to either redevelop that property or redevelop that property. The land bank itself, there's just a lot that they like about a land bank, because what a land bank is specifically targeting is dilapidated properties in the communities. And so you're really looking at those properties where you're not trying to build out on a green field. You've already got utilities set there, and that property is typically devaluing the other homes that are around it. And so those are really those properties that they're trying to target. Land banks, they help to stabilize the neighborhood. They create a sort of a code enforcement triggering system, because a lot of times our neighbors get used to the home being dilapidated next to them, and they don't call on it being that it's continually deteriorating, or the grass is getting high, that kind of stuff that's going on with it, or even squatters that are getting in there. And then there's also it creates a mechanism for oversight on those delinquent sales. So what we're proposing to do is we would set up a regional land bank over multiple counties. And we don't know the number of counties yet because we're trying to see now what counties want to opt in and what counties don't want to opt in at this time. When you look at, I'll jump you around here a little bit. If you look at page 11, you'll see a map there. The ones in green are the counties that we're proposing this regional land bank to. And so, yeah, it's outside of my region, which is a little bit scary going out and doing this size of a region. But, you know, it's one of those things where we have the Indiana Uplands that is willing to seed the startup of this organization. And so they're wanting to put, at least for the next 2 years, essentially 1.2 million for 2023 and 1.2 million for 2024 in order to seed that organization. The organization, the way it would operate is each county would have their own prioritization team. So you're typically looking at auditor, county council, county commissioner, building commissioner. Sometimes a lot of people at the fire department or the police department like to be on that because they know the homes that are problematic homes for them. And so that team will help set, we'll look at the properties that are on either from the tax sale or from the commissioner's sale, and then which property should be prioritized by the land bank in order for the land bank to go after. The land bank will assess what those prioritizations are, and then we'll make a request for those properties on the ones that make the most sense. So, you know, certain properties where there's heavy tax liens on the properties, and so that makes it difficult for someone to come in and redevelop those properties. Properties where it's dilapidated and it's falling in, then, you know, there's a big cost for someone to come in, tear down, raise the structure, and then rebuild on that same site. And so the land bank would have those mechanisms to do that. They've actually, because they're set up under state statute, they have the same powers that like a county would have, except they don't have the powers of eminent domain and they don't have the powers of taxation. And so that board send the priorities to the land bank. Land bank would then select the properties that they think that they should take on that has the most return on value. They would get those properties. They would still go through the same tax sale process that you have to go through, because it would take that 6 months of you know, the homeowner would still have that opportunity to pay their taxes and then get their home off of that list. But if it goes through that 6 months time frame and they don't pay their taxes, they don't come back and reclaim their home, then the land bank would then have the opportunity to tear down that structure or rehab that structure. And what it gives is a control where the land bank they'll set up an application process. That application process will, someone will apply for that property. So it will be advertised almost like there'll be a GIS system that'll set up where you can click on the different properties that the land bank will hold. You could say, okay, I'm looking at 200 East Main. That's the site I want to target for you know, building a new home on. Apply to the land bank. The land bank would have the number of members that would be equivalent to the same number of counties that opt in. So I'm looking at, I think there'll be roughly 9 counties that will end up opting in ultimately. So it'd be a 9-member board. That board would review the application. So to make sure the person's financially solvent, make sure that the plan that they're wanting to do with the property fits with the character of the community, and fits with the redevelopment of the region. And so if they check all the boxes there, and then the priority that committee selects them, then they can approve that application. The land bank will then hold a contract with that individual that they'll have a certain amount of time to do what they say they were going to do in that application. And if they don't, then it reverts back to the land bank. So that keeps people from coming in
getting a piece of property and just sitting on it, or what happens a lot of times is on some of these properties is that it goes to someone, they start using it as a rental property, and then they don't pay taxes on it, and then 2 years from now, it reverts back to the county. We have that quite a bit across our region. So it really is a way of trying to get properties out of the hands of bad actors that don't have the community's best interest at heart, put it into an organization that, you know, is really community minded. And then also having some clawbacks on properties whenever it goes to somebody to be redeveloped. You know, and a lot of times these properties, you know, they just have a lot of liens on them to where they can't do, no one's gonna be willing to spend $40,000 on liens in order to buy a $5,000 property. So it just creates that mechanism for removing those liens and then getting, you know, hopefully you could rehab some of the homes, but if not, then we would move on and tear them down and then make it a good piece of property for redevelopment. So, a bit of the pitch there. I'm sure there's a lot of questions because it's complicated, especially when you're trying to do regional. You've got multiple counties that you're going to be working with. You've got a local team, and you've also got someone that's going to be working for the region on this. And there'll be a lot of organizing that has to happen out of that land bank. But what we're asking for is if you would like to opt into the land bank, is for $5,000 for 2023 and then $5,000 for 2024. It doesn't cover much of the cost of what the land bank has, but it's just a buy-in of essentially this is what we would, you know, we want to be a part of it. We're going to put a little bit of money towards the buy-in on that. You know, what happens in 2 years from now? A lot depends on that committee to kind of set up how that land bank would operate after the ready funds have been expended. Now, you're going to have essentially 2.4 million that would go into cleaning up different properties. And then the sale of those properties would roll back into the operation of the land bank. So it could be used to do additional properties in the future. What we're anticipating would happen in the future is that this land bank would be so successful that the county would think that this is a necessary tool to keep around and that they would want to have, and so that they'd be willing to put in a little bit of money for the shared administrative costs across the region. And then they would want to put a pot of funds together around, you know, doing the legal work to clear the titles, doing the demolition work in order to tear down the properties and, you know, inspecting of those properties there, maintaining and boarding them up and making sure they're safe communities. And so, yeah, there's a lot of kind of unknowns on this, but we think we'll have the kind of track record after a couple of years to really know whether this is a tool that really can work in rural Indiana, work for our counties, and then at the very least, you know, if you spent $10,000 over the next 2 years, we're looking at trying to clean up between 16 to 20 homes over those 2 years. So you'd be ahead. 16 to 20 homes probably cleaned up because of your involvement in the land bank there, which roughly $200,000.
So again, this would be a property that they didn't pay property taxes
Right.
for three consecutive periods, and it's going to tax sale.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has purchased it at tax sale. At that point, the commissioners could have chosen to have a commissioner sale or not. The land bank would be in lieu of the commissioner sale, or would it still have to go through a commissioner sale and they are given to the land bank at that point?
Either or. They could get the property right after the tax sale, or they could get it after like the no sales on the commissioner sale. They probably wouldn't go in there and try and bid against others during a commissioner sale.
So what you're talking about initially is sometimes a property will come up and it has $50,000 worth of problems and it's worth 10, so it's not gonna sell.
And the land bank also, this really stemmed out of us doing a lot of brownfield work in our region. I know Indiana 15 does brownfield work in your region. But we'd always say like, oh, we got money to assess an industrial site or do something with these types of properties. And they're like, we really just need homes. Like, how do we deal with these dilapidated properties that have been there for 30 years and it's an issue? And then even some of my other commissioners I've talked to, they're sitting on 20 or so properties that they own and maintain. And they just don't market. And so it becomes real tough for them to even reach a developer with those properties. Maybe it lands on a commissioner, so maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just sits in their inventory. But that gives another opportunity for marketing those properties. And I know that's a problem now with a lot of the counties, is they don't have a marketing mechanism for a lot of those properties that they would like to take off their own.
I think I misunderstood. Originally, you would not be involved in the tax sale part of it. You wouldn't come in until it didn't sell at tax sale. That's when you would come in and call it negotiate or whatever with commissioners as to taking over that property in some way.
Yeah.
Do you have the numbers on how many of the properties we have in Du Bois County like that? Do we have those numbers?
We have so few that we have, most
That
years
was
we
my
don't
impression.
have a commissioner cell because there's so few.
Mm-hmm.
And zero that have structures.
Yeah.
Generally.
Houses go, the other ones.
We had that one, remember you and I both went out and looked, they used to have an oil mine on it, or an oil pump.
Mhm.
We had that one, but generally they're vacant strips of land that have no value. Or
Yeah,
they're not,
that was my impression or my experience was that we don't have
You don't have the inventory to
an inventory
for the need of it.
We're fortunate not to have that in.
Well,
Fortunate.
and that's,
Good problem to have.
yeah, it probably reflects, you're one of the counties that has the most, highest number of houses need in the region.
thus an empty lot or a lot with a bad house on it has enough value that somebody privately will, because we can sell it for 0 cents or $1 or whatever the minimum is, and people will generally buy them. For the ones that don't, really our main thing that is repetitive in Du Bois County is we have Lake Helmrich, where there's properties that people just haven't
big
developed,
lots. Yeah.
but it causes no problem. They're vacant lots with no roads in front of them, and
Well, that's the reason they don't sell is because there's a HOA that charges a fee and people don't want to pay the fee.
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at the number of homes that, when they do get picked up by a land entity that purchases as a holding corporation. Because there's a lot of those around that, they're out of Florida, they're out of North Carolina, that kind of stuff, that they just buy up speculative properties and then kind of hold them and sit on them. So I don't know how many of
And
those
that's
are.
why I thought when I initially thought you were coming in at the tax sale point and would be a competitive bidder, or we would
Yeah,
somehow preempt the tax sale to enter into an agreement with you, that could be beneficial. But if you're not buying at the tax sale, I'm struggling to.
it could be
understand
something we
benefit.
could look at, initially, trying to come in at the lowest cost to access the properties and acquire the properties. And maybe there is some that you know some bad actors that we could outbid on. But we'd have to look deeper at that and see
Because
if
your scenario a while ago where somebody comes in, purchases the property at a tax sale with the intent to rent it out, doesn't fix it up, doesn't even pay the taxes, so in 2 years it's back on tax sale.
Yeah.
That can happen. I don't know that it happens regularly here, but
it's happened.
it happens.
But a lot of ours get redeemed. The property owners redeem the property.
Redeem the property, yeah.
Yeah, I want to look at this. I don't want to be negative on the idea with that.
No, and
more
that's
about it.
like we like to come and kind of talk a little bit and see see from your perspective on what you see from commissioner sales, tax sales, that kind of stuff. you know, we pull the numbers on our own end, but it's, you know, we're looking at your county from an outside point of view. I understand what the numbers mean in my counties. Don't always know what they mean in your guys' county. So, but like I said, we're coming to you, kind of pitching it. Like I said, there's not that much to be involved in the upfront, and maybe you find that it doesn't have much value for your county, and then would want to opt out after 2 years, but it would at least give you access to a certain amount of funds and people that would be working towards that issue in your county if you have that issue. I mean, I'm not saying you do. And then, you know, I never like to come in and pitch something, make you decide on something right away. So it's, you know, we're asking that people would give us, let us know by August, sometime in August. And then what we would do is, if you were wanting to opt in for the land bank, then in September, we would look to pass a resolution that would help formulate the start of the process, and then we can get the not-for-profit established and working that way.
Are you Jessica?
Yes.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put it at the end of our agenda next time. That way I'll give the commissioners 2 weeks to look it over, and we can make a determination, let you, and send you some feedback.
Is there an opt-in process a year from now? Or
Yeah, I think you can. You know, we're hoping to have it set. I wouldn't be able to guarantee you that the ready funds would be set aside, because, you know, we're gonna work with the counties that we have when we start this and kind of set our budgets from there. But yeah, we'd have to have another conversation on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
So.
So then we have about 5 minutes for Mr. Beeler to look at the No, he didn't. That way we can look at it, if we get any feedback. Yes.
How much rain do you get, Elmer?
How much rain?
Yeah.
Broke my rain gauge.
It was so much, you couldn't hold it all.
2.4 inches in Knox County, my house.
Yesterday? I don't think we had that much.
I tell you what, we've had the perfect rains.
Yeah.
Our watermelons have run from here. Our sweet corn's busting at the seam. I mean, we are in a breadbasket over there. We're lucky.
You're living right.
Well, I don't know. I've been chasing my eagle hounds for the last 2 and a half. I went out there and fed them 7:30, let them out. You just took about 2 minutes.
I asked her to send me the
I
copy
found
of
it
it,
on my
so I
golf
can look at it before I
Two
go.
and a half miles.
She's there, she sent you an
I said, I thought I emailed it. Ask her if she got mine. I sent her one at 9:20. Does not have a problem.
I pass.
I don't know, shouldn't give you one. I can ask her to go on maybe.
I don't know when they would have. Just for
How you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
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 As far as you know, right?
Well, nobody's told me any different.
It's pretty early in the day still.
What's up?
Not much. Did you get my email for Cloverdale?
She said she was leaving at 10:30.
You carry on, you know, do that.
You did.
So, no, I don't see an issue with it.
You don't need to be a part of it.
Not changing it.
My-
That right away, like that, so.
Yeah, my email, there's something wrong with my email account.
I'm just gonna shit, but no, we did.
Okay. Yeah, I have to close out my email account so that it synchronizes to the inbox so that it can budget.
But that's
It's not the end of the world. So, okay, so no need to use the account. Okay.
Get my email?
I didn't get yours either.
For my below. How is it higher?
It went as expected in my opinion. He did get a,
We keep going.
even a special letter with I think I might.
Scores.
So it depends, right? Second. And when someone gets monotonous, just kind of get one hit.
Photocopy picture was on.
Yes, either way, just trace it.
Except for Corbin is Brady.
I thought maybe
See that?
38 is added in the
One
process.
in.
No, that would get rid of
He
that.
slid that second wrong and twisted his ankles.
Corbin went.
I didn't like the one with the car on it.
Great.
It's the-
Great.
This one, the helicopter is light enough that you came out and sent it right over it.
Little standing dogs.
But the car, second, and I've got some kind of keynotes from my office. So, and they have so much logo and stuff on it. I barely get it on.
So,
So,
never saw.
I get it, but.
oh, this should last me. Order the driver back. What a lot of things. You do the one. Very hard, yeah. I would just leave them all on the books, you know, so everybody's fill it up and full.
Chill with that, or-
I think so, because there's, we already lived it. Was my opinion.
Well, honestly, your suggestion would have been the same.
Just keep my eye on trouble at night.
Hey, we'll take breaks, keep calls, like, we're out of storage.
Mesmer, he had this sharp, when he gets on them, he gets shot of it. You know, like, bro, we beat the team to this thing.
Is that right?
I mean, we beat them.
That's what I was struggling with.
Put up 31 runs.
I can totally see where that's still.
That was.
That was two up and wins. What do you think?
I can see where, community like I was.
I don't want it all.
Well, there's benefit to it, just not here. We don't have the issue they got.
If they came in before this house, but even there, it was like.
You gotta give the
most of them
people
were
a year to
redeemed.
redeem and they redeem. We just really get very few properties.
Right. But I would say there's other parts of the area that don't have what we have.
I agree with you. I know.
And that's why they're metro area.
Joe,
All right, let's get back to it. Mr. Beeler, we've got other things to do. I guess we'll get started with DJS Properties.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Phil Beeler, Grossman Line Surveying and Engineering on behalf of DSJ Properties, who is Daniel Schnell, who lives in the house just to the east of what we're talking about. Just to keep it pretty simple, the yellow on the GIS, the yellow is an existing tax parcel that goes with the house owned by DSJ Properties. So that's an existing tax parcel. You'll see over on the east side, there's a little bit of occupation issue with that building. It actually cuts through that pole wall, that pole building there and across that driveway. So basically what Danny is wanting to do is just get that cleaned up. His intent is to sell off the 0.828 acre tract, which better matches the possession that is out there. So in the end, what we're doing is we're taking the.
Again, I apologize. You said he's wanting to sell the home.
The red outline. So basically what we're doing is we're reconfiguring the existing tax parcel to better match the occupation that's out there. We're making it bigger, but we're at 0.828 acres, which is less than the 1 acre, which would be the provision technically in the ordinance that would allow to use the existing home rule. There's really no other mechanism in the ordinance that allows to do this, other than we could plat. If this is denied, then we would plat the land. I wanted to pursue this just as a simpler way. We're just reconfiguring the existing tax parcel, adding acreage to it, but not getting up to the 1 acre. And thus asking, I guess, for an exception or variance, Greg, I'm not sure exactly what it is, or permission to do what they're doing without having to go through the planning process.
The yellow line is the existing
Yeah,
parcel, and
yeah.
the red line is the proposed.
Is the proposed. So the truth be told, he could go and sell the yellow parcel today if he wanted to. And so we're just reconfiguring it, adding some acreage to it.
Trying to pull that whole barn off the property.
Correct. That's gonna go with the house.
And it cleans up that driveway access to the pole barn rears.
You're not adding more tax parcels.
I think that looks like.
It's the next step he's gonna do. I think him going in, this clean up, this is, we're not making a subdivision, we're not doing, it's cleaning a situation up.
Mhm.
And I would agree too. I mean, as Mr. Wheeler appropriately pointed out, he could sell that yellow parcel as is. But then you still have issues going forward with adjoining landowners, in my opinion. They'd call a lawyer or a bank may not even assist them in a financing issue. This helps, and your yellow becomes red, ends up with more acreage.
There's two parcels that are affected, obviously, and so the second parcel is being reduced in size.
Yeah, the parcel with the pole barns, that is, my understanding is the intent with that is to, I believe he's going to transfer that into his personal.
Combine the two parcels.
With the house.
Legally combined?
With this tract.
Yeah, legally combined. I mean, by say that, in other words, make one parcel out of it.
I believe that is the intent.
I mean, I don't know that I necessarily have a problem with that one parcel being smaller than it currently is. But just pointing out that is the
Mine is
effect of it.
I believe these pole barns are used for the personal use as opposed to the rental properties that he has. So my understanding, if you look at the survey, we did write a boundary description for the point, whatever, the 0.685 acres, to your point, which would be the remaining tract for the middle parcel. I believe the understanding is that he was going to transfer that to his personal property.
Other than the fact that it becomes smaller, it becomes a better parcel because it has more road frontage.
Yeah.
What's your concern with it being smaller?
I'm not, I'm just pointing it out.
Just a bigger point, yeah.
Just pointing it out that it becomes smaller.
Whatever we have to do, I'm in favor of
Where's this at?
two of you.
On Shelby Road,
Is it
Intersection.
Jefferson?
yes,
Or Jackson?
that's, should be Jefferson.
That'd be Jefferson, wouldn't it?
Yeah, whereabouts is?
It's right next to Fisher Electric, across the
Okay.
road. That's
Schnellville
that upper
Road,
right,
or,
upper left
Celestine
corner
Road
is
South.
Fisher Electric.
Gotcha. Now I know exactly where it's at. Okay. So this is almost into Schnellville.
Correct. Just west of Celestine Road South is the road coming into the west side.
And that's that used to be a little butcher shop there.
Yeah.
Across there.
Yeah, okay. I'll just drive it.
It is Jackson.
It is Jackson?
It is
It would
Jackson.
be close in there somewhere.
Right, it's right here.
Yeah, sure enough. It's right on the line, yeah, it's Jackson. I'll move that we approve the request to modify the two parcels of land that's been presented to us today.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Mr. Schneider, is that sufficient?
Yes, this would be an exception to ordinance number to our county parcelization ordinance.
Okay, subdivision ordinance,
Exception?
yeah.
And Greg, I'll put a statement on the survey that reflects that.
Correct.
So that they can put that on the deed, so that the auditor's office will accept it.
That's what I was asking for.
I'll send that to you to approve that verbiage.
Make sure that today's date was on there so they can read it.
So we have a first and a second on the exception approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Have a good
Can
day.
you include them on the email so I can
Senator
put it in here?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Exception to the what ordinance?
I'll figure that out. It's a subdivision ordinance, but I don't know what the ordinance.
Subdivision ordinance?
Yeah, I don't know what the ordinance.
Okay, let's go through the miscellaneous items if we have any. Mr. Brown?
I don't. I mean, just briefly, we talked last time about the Ready Grant and the possibility that, or exploring the possibility of trails and that sort of thing. And Brent and I have talked, but we really haven't done anything more on it. You heard the discussion earlier with Ed. That's as far as we are on it.
Commissioner Hofstadter?
I don't have anything additional this week.
So the only thing that I brought up, last week, when we were at that health training, it just reinforced to me the value of having a long-term plan, 5-year plan for the county. Again, it's something I've wanted to do for 5 years, just haven't done it. And so I know with we are on the list for as a potential project with, what was it, SHC, what was that? Securing Hoosier Communities, or what was that S? I don't remember what the S stood for. The Center for Rural Engagement was doing it, and Dennis Tedrow was working on it from out of Vincennes, Jasper.
Oh, yes, yes. I know.
So anyway, with that long-term plan was part of it was one of the projects, I think Councilman Policeman put it in, and I put it in as a project. I flipped through the 70 or 80 so page report that he put out, or they gave us in May, and it was one of the items in there. So I guess I was trying to get I tried following up with them to see when decisions were made, which one of those projects. I think this was the one where the Indiana University students in the classrooms would say, oh, we'll do this project and this one, but not that one. Anyway, long story short, I was trying to get an update to see where that was, if it's going to be determined when the school year starts again, if it gets determined in the summer. But I do, just as something to point of conversation, I think that's something we need to do and get on. Also, when we're doing the strategic investment plan with Ryland and the help process, it might be a good time because some of what she's doing and some of the people that we should be bringing in for that discussion would be the same people that would be on a 5-year plan. So I guess we just need to figure out what we want to do, and if now is the right time to do both. Should we do them concurrently? Because my concern was, as we went through the class, was if we bring in all of the stakeholders or the interested people in the community for the health program and what projects we should spend that money on, and then we ask them to come back again for a separate 5-year planning, then it's they'd probably be committee fatigue because we'd be doing some of the same kind of work. Any thoughts on 5-year planning? How we should proceed, anything at this point?
I think it's important, and I agree. That was impressed upon us even more so at the training up there. However we can move forward with that, I'd be interested in moving it forward.
So I think the city used Taylor Seaford, whatever that firm is, for their planning. They are required by the state to have planning. We're not, but I don't think that makes it any less valuable for us. Would it be a good time to bring a firm like that out on, or put requests out for that and have them coordinate with what we're doing with the health thought maybe that might be
Maybe we're not quite there until we figure out a little bit more in the direction that we're going with the health program and how that, the mechanics of that or the organization of that will develop. And will this, I agree that, it might be a good time to combine those two together if it works.
I just wonder if they could parallel.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have separate, what we do with health will have to have its own outcomes, but some of those outcomes could be, like, if, for example, if we do health, we have 10 projects we think are really great, but we can only do 5 of them, the other 5 could remain in the long term.
I think Oprah's plan on the health program is to use August and September to set up the process. And I guess what I'm saying is until that process is set up, do we know how even paralleling it will work?
Mr. Schneider, on those kind of things, since it's professional services, we could probably select someone we wanted. That being said, we may, I'm sure there's more than one outfit that does that work, and we could
Do an RFP or.
it may be a benefit to hear.
Hear what they have to offer.
And we could get
Take
started.
a look at their body of work that they've done before.
We get, over the next couple of meetings or so, we could maybe hear some of that. Through August and into September, we could hear some of that, and then by that time, we know where else, the process for health and how that works, and how it would all work together.
So I think we should just, I agree with that maybe we don't even know where help is going just yet because the state hasn't given us that information, but we can at least get the ball moving. Maybe we end up saying, it'll just determine how we proceed when we learn more information. I don't think it would hurt to have a conversation with the folks from Taylor, for example. Okay. Another thing that I do think we should probably do, or my suggestion would be to have Ryland on the agenda, I don't know, once a month at least, maybe every meeting for 5 minutes. So the last 2 weeks I did this, the next 2 weeks I plan to do this. Okay. Would anybody have any opposition to that? I mean, it's an accountability piece and it's probably good for the community to get continuous updates on where we are.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
No, I think it does, and I think she would probably appreciate that as well.
Sounds good. I think we have Allison Neal and Megan Durloff here for conversation on the COSAP grant. Just because I'm impressed that she knows it, can you please tell us what the COSAP stands for again?
Community Opioid Stimulant Substance Abuse Program. Only because I have it written down here.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and I apologize for not having this to you sooner. But nevertheless, here's a printed copy of it.
Megan, is this the stuff that you sent in an email earlier?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm so sorry for that.
Came a little while ago, I saw it.
I had it in my draft and I was like, okay, let me see if anybody replied, and I was surprised nobody
Mind readers.
I've done that same
Can't do
thing.
It
You
happens.
get angry
more
at
than-
people for, why have you not responded?
Oh, it's still in my draft, so
It's,
that's
there
great.
it is.
Okay, well,
I read through part of it during our break while ago, but I didn't get all the way through. So.
It's okay.
well, we're happy to hear what you have to say then.
Yeah, so I'm Allison Neal, and I am the COSAP project manager, and I'm also a treatment program facilitator at the Community Corrections. So I will be the one overseeing the COSAP grant and the therapeutic community that I have named RISE. So what we are looking to get at this time, we have 2 requests for proposals, RFPs. One of them for the behavioral health treatment services, which could be someone like LifeSpring. So I'll just give you that because we all know who that is. So we're looking for therapists, we're looking for a peer recovery specialist to be in our facility helping with the therapeutic community. They will be having group therapeutic sessions. They can be having one-on-one therapeutic therapy sessions. Peer recovery specialists can also do the same thing. So what we're looking for is 4 individuals, and we're looking for 4 individuals to be in the community corrections building. We're going to be giving them an office space and working up to 35 hours a week. Now, what we're looking for is whatever agency that we choose to pair with after we receive what they have to offer. We're looking for the sustainability factor of being able to bill for Medicaid, Recovery Works, or private insurance, to be able to have more people in the agency and kind of help us to pay for these individuals. Because with the grant, we're not able to fund the whole person, but we're able to help with that. So that is for the behavior health treatment services. Megan, did I forget anything on those?
Did you say it was Medicaid and Recovery Works? Is that what they are?
We're looking for someone who would be able to bill for those services, so that to kind of get reimbursed and to help sustain the program.
So if we had a partner, Life Springs type thing, then they would charge, and that doesn't necessarily help community corrections bottom line, but it helps pay for the services that we put in there. Is that, am I following?
Yes.
Someone?
Yes.
Kind of offsets the cost from the grant perspective. We will be able to get more people, because we'll be able to pay for, probably not the full position, they'll be able to bill still. So for sustainability, they'll be able to bill and we'll be able to pay for part of it. Kind of similar to how the schools, their partnership with LifeSpring has a social worker in the school, but it's on a contract basis, and so they're able to also still bill for some of the services that, if for people who are medically eligible.
So that is behavior health. We're also looking for the consultation aspect of it to help me and to help community corrections to guide us through the therapeutic community
On that last portion.
logistics part.
I apologize. On this last, these are gonna be, again, we're going to be all contracted people.
Yes.
I mean, you're an employee. there's gonna be a
I will be
employee.
overseeing them as far as making sure, doing reviews, making sure that they're doing everything that they need to do. So they'll have the office space here. The provider will have a say on who is hired for that position, but I will be essentially the one overseeing them to make sure that they're doing everything that they need to do according to the grant.
And you would necessarily be their boss, but if they're not working out with how we like, we can say, well, we're not going to work.
I'm not the boss, but I am the boss.
I mean, ultimately,
Yes.
they have an employer
Yes.
that we're contracted with, but we get
Yes,
disappointed.
exactly,
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
exactly.
So you're looking for 4 people to do that? Or
That
am I
would
misunderstanding
be,
you?
that would be awesome if we could get 4 people. That is our hopes, that is our goal. It just depends on, who the provider is, if they feel like they can sustain, that on their own, with the help of our funding as well. I would like at least 1 licensed therapist, and I would like at least 1 peer recovery specialist, but if we can get more than that, then that would be great.
And they would be their employees, they would just work in our building.
Sounds good. Okay, then you were under the consultative services and evaluation assistance provider.
Yes, so that is for me. It's not going to help any of, well, in a sense, it'll help our participants, but they will not interact with our participants. They'll be interacting with me to make sure that I'm doing all the grants correctly, that if I have any questions on how I can basically be the CQI specialist for my team. just make sure everything is going how it needs to be. The consultative provider needs to have a know of our community, of our community corrections, and our populations that we do serve, and all the demographics and all of that to help with creating and making and helping me with the program to make it better. It would be consulting. I can't speak today. Either email, phone, in person, just depending on where they are located.
So to make it simpler for me, what does that look like? Who, what, ideally in your mind?
Well, I know at the beginning of the grant process, Megan was working with Community Solutions. So they already had an idea and they've done, they've been to our community corrections, they know our demographics. They would ideally be the ones that we would like, but we have to go through the process of all of this. But they are located in Indy.
So some of the things that they've already helped us do is like establish some spreadsheets for our reporting. Like with the federal grant, we have to do some pretty in-depth levels of reporting. So they've created a spreadsheet for us to collect the demographic information that we need so that we can report it and send it up to the state for performance metrics. They will do a third-party evaluation of the success of the program, but also along the way, I mean, we're creating a brand new program with new operating procedures, trying to figure out who will be appropriate referrals, discussing that referral process, just from the ground up, really building the program, because they have experience in implementing programs like this in other communities too. And we don't support in that way.
I don't know the history of Community Solutions, but I know we're working on potentially in another area. Are they a general consulting firm, or do they only do, I don't know what their range of services are. I've been on their website, but I don't really remember. What do either of you know?
So a lot of what they do is in reference to community collaborations. So I know that they do some work for some different hospitals in Indianapolis. They've done work for the Marion County Justice System, the city of Indianapolis.
I guess I didn't know if they had like a branch that was specifically criminal justice or recovery services, or if they did, like you said, just general community building and collaboration.
I would say that a lot of their work does focus on mental health treatment, rehabilitation, justice work, but also just healthcare too.
They're the only ones that I've ever worked with through the Community Foundation and some of that work, but I didn't know if there were other entities that did similar work, so do either of you know if there's any that do?
I would say that there are other entities that definitely do other like similar work, yes, absolutely. So that's kind of the process that we have to go through and put this RFP out there. Because even though, Community Solutions helped us write this grant, they have a familiarity with our community and our justice system, that's very helpful. Other people do this similar work.
I'm sorry.
Brent, a lot of people don't know this, he gets excited when we talk about the consulting work.
Get on the phone.
So I apologize there.
That's what I'm saying, on hand speak.
I know, pretty bad.
So the RFP will go out and we may learn something that we don't know today.
Definitely, and that's the same with the behavioral health. I mean, maybe there's someone else that can give us what we need, or we just never know.
Okay. I know I've been continually interrupting, but it's just because I'm
No, you're
really
fine.
interested.
You're
I just want
fine.
to make sure I
You're
have a clear
fine.
picture of what we're doing. So, or is there more that you need to? tell us
No,
about?
that's pretty much it, unless you have any other questions about it. There is a sample on page 5 of the behavioral health of, what we're looking to implement in the therapeutic community. So some of these classes will be, facilitated by, treatment program facilitators like myself, and then we also have Angie Senmeyer and Darren Whiteside. So they'll also be facilitating some of these classes, and then hopefully however many licensed clinical workers we can get, and then peer recovery specialists to help fill in there as well. All of these classes help with their addictions, learning how to cope, and then also dealing with some of their past traumas that they may or may not have.
So then, because you're going to be, I guess what you're asked from the Board of Commissioners, what do you need from us?
We need approval of the RFP so that we can send it out to whoever we need to send it out to.
Mr. Snare, do you review these?
I had, and a couple of recommended additions, they took care of those the best I could tell. So
You've done that today, or you've had this?
we had a discussion last week, I
Yeah,
sent
we've
those
been
additions, I
collaborating.
confirmed that those additions were put in there about just the review process timeline and all that.
I'm very confident that I'll be supportive of it, but I hate to say that I want to say okay to the RFPs without having read them before.
And I understand, and if
So-
you need to table it, then that is okay with me.
I mean, is 2 weeks gonna be harmful? Because that's when our next meeting is. I mean, as a board.
No, it should be fine. I may have to, I have some dates in here of when some things would be due, and those possibly could be changed, but that
Just
would
move
be.
those out.
Yeah, those would possibly, it's on page 7 of the behavioral health. That would be the only things that would be changed, but no, I would be fine with that.
So that's what I would recommend to the board, that we take it under advisement for 2 weeks. We put it on the next agenda and we approve or not approve next time. I don't, then that would give us 2 weeks. If we have any issues or questions or things, we would be able to reach out to Allison and do that. Does that sound?
Yeah, no, it sounds good to me. I have a 30,000-foot understanding of what you're proposing here. And I would lean heavily on our attorney, and Chad knows more about this than what I do, but 2 weeks would help me understand it even more.
That's fine.
And give an opportunity to, if anything new comes up or questions come up and that sort of thing, to run them by us.
I'll ask Mr. Glixner, do you have any questions for these folks on the request at this time?
No, I don't.
Just, since you're here, I thought maybe you had a fiscal question on it. That's great. Thank you for the introduction to this, and we will talk about it again in 2 weeks. And if for some reason when it's on the agenda, if you can't, I don't know, do you want to coordinate it so that you can be here on the meeting date? So that way.
Yep.
So what would that be? Is it
August 1st.
August 1?
It's on Monday. Yeah, I don't have anything on that one.
Okay. So we'll do it August 1st in the morning, just leave some time in there. We'll try to get a time that we can do it, all right?
8:45.
8:45 work for you?
I won't, so that's all you know.
August 1st?
Oh, no, I'm gonna be out.
Yeah, that's fine. 8:45 you said?
Yes.
All right, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
11 o'clock, animal control meeting.
We'll do school resource officer.
If you don't care, we can do that first, that'd be great.
All right. So I know we came a couple weeks ago, so I kind of put these figures together to give a little bit better idea. I know it was asked, and I don't know if you have any more questions. Hey, I'll give you a copy. It's kind of just a rough, kind of what I figured. And Mike, you're here, so I'll give you a copy also if you want. Okay, well, thanks. So according to the contract, we looked, 37 weeks a year is essentially what the school resource officer, and that's kind of what the teachers are contracted for, was 183 days. So roughly 37 weeks, which would be 37 weeks from the grant, and then 15 weeks from the county pay. So I broke this down as best that I could as far as what it says in the contract: salary, insurance, social security, pension, car, and equipment. And I got for like 37 weeks, the school, it would be roughly $72,000 from the schools, which they're paying $70,000 a year. And then for the county, roughly $29,000 from what the county would have to pay if we got the grant and approved another position. So again, right now, I think what I'm asking for is just the approval that if the grant goes through, that you would approve the position. I'm not asking for it if the grant does not go through.
That's helpful. That's helpful. Is there anything there that the sheriff may have missed as far as expenses are concerned that maybe Sandy, you're familiar with?
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, you make a good point that 72 and 70, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. Plus the fact, I would argue that even if they are working at the school, they're still available to us.
Correct.
And that's worth something.
Yes.
I think that we would all agree there's nothing more important than keeping the children of our community safe. Is this 100% guarantee that everybody's going to be 100% safe? No, but it keeps a car in front of the building, keeps a trained professional around. It's hard to say no to it. Absolutely, we want to support this any way we can. I guess my long-term thinking is that if this money goes away or is reduced, we would want our partners at the school to understand that we probably want them to help pick up.
Right.
So if 70,000 went to 35,000 or to zero in the future, that would be something we'd really have to look at, because we'd be multiplying that 70 times 3 at this point, right?
Yes.
If this goes through, we would need future help from the school corporations to make this continue. But
And are they the grant applicants and recipients of schools, or?
They are.
We just invoice them twice a year, half and half.
Okay. So in essence, that's what they're doing. They're paying us $70,000 for this benefit.
A year.
They're getting a grant, but as far as we're concerned, they're just paying us.
Correct.
Right, so if their contribution is 70, ours is gonna be 31, if these numbers are, roughly correct, then.
And I am under the understanding this at Southeast, if they do not get the grant, they're not asking for another school resource over, only if they get the grant.
So I guess I don't feel comfortable creating the position, without having the grant in place, but what we can do is just give a consensus that, yeah, we will, if that money comes through, if that's indeed what the board decides to do. So, it's similar, it's almost the same thing, except it's just not official.
Well, the only concern I have is budget. We can't add it to the budget after we've advertised, so either we have it in there or we don't. If we don't have it in the budget for next year, then we have to do an additional in January.
When would this position start? Would it be the beginning of the
Probably-
school year?
Probably January. I don't think we
Okay,
could get it ready, to do it already in August. That's a lot to ask for.
Got 3 weeks.
You gotta get a guy hired, and we do have people at our office that are interested in this position, but I don't want to put them there and then leave the road short. So we would have to hire another person and then hopefully get them somewhat trained before.
That's what I was gonna say. You're gonna have a deficit somewhere else if you move
Yes.
a trained deputy up.
Yeah.
Okay, so your recommendation would be if we're feeling like this is going to be something we would do, that we need to get it in, at least budget for it.
Well,
So
because they can't move unless you guys create.
And they can't,
Created
and if we needed the money in January to do an additional in January, it's frowned upon.
He doesn't like it. We do it, but he doesn't like it.
He being the state board
West
of
Bend,
accounts,
the DLGF.
DLGF.
So what happens if it's created and it doesn't go through?
Then you just don't have, then the money's gonna sit there.
Okay.
There's no harm other than you have a inflated budget, I guess.
Gotcha.
Would you agree with that?
I mean, we could pull it out up to the last minute. If we know, like, in September before we advertise the budget, we can pull it out.
I guess there's no harm in just saying that we will create the position pending approval of a $70,000 grant by the school corporation. I mean, there's no harm in doing that if the board decides we want to do it.
Dr. Quinn thought that they would know in August, so that would give us time
That
to
would give us time.
pull it out, I guess, but it wouldn't give us time to add it.
We probably need, you don't have it added to your budget right now, right?
I do, you just don't have a copy of it,
Oh,
because I wasn't sure whether I should turn it in.
because see,
or not,
we're working
so.
on the budget book now, so it's gonna be due to the council in a few weeks here.
Right, and I got that, I didn't want to turn it
Right.
in without it being somewhat approved.
Then you look presumptive.
Yeah.
No, I'm in favor of doing that if you think that'll work budgetarily, and I think that'll work for us.
I would hate to wait until January and then us have to wait until February or March to finally get some money, and then your school year's about over.
Mhm.
It's
And
just-
again, I guess I'll bring up what I did last time. We won't be purchasing a new car for the person. They'll use one of the pool cars. As far as equipment, I mean, we'll have to equip
We'll have
the
to equip
person.
Yeah,
So I think I'm satisfied with proceeding pending approval of the grant for the school corporation. Commissioner Hostetter, your thoughts?
No, I'm happy to approve the position pending the grant.
Commissioner Brown?
No, I asked for 2 weeks last time and didn't get any negative, or didn't.
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed. Nothing changed.
Any feedback from anybody in the audience? Okay. All right, I'll move that we create the position for the new school resource officer pending approval of the $70,000 grant from the school corporation.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Wage
Thank you.
classification, everything stays the same as the other SROs?
We just match it.
Yeah.
Fit in.
Assume so.
Fingers crossed you get the grant.
Yeah. Sheriff, what about this animal control meeting? Well, I was just gonna, is there anything you need to share with us?
No,
We just need to
nothing more
pick
than-
somebody to go.
yeah, nothing more than, I don't know anything more than what you've seen in the email, so at this point.
But I guess what I will ask you in the email was that you have people that are already looking into it, in-house.
Yeah.
And you said something along the lines, would we need an animal control officer for the county? Are you thinking a new position for that, or you would give somebody those duties?
No, it would be a new position, and that's why we're looking into, like a lot of other counties, and this is all of an assumption, I don't know this for detail, but what Deputy Hurt was telling me, this lady that she's working with the Indiana State Department of Health, helps counties basically get an animal control officer. So the cities within your county would kind of be like a school resource officer, where they would help fund this animal control officer who does animal control officers for the entire county, whether it's city or county. So it's making a bunch of assumptions here, but that's kind of how I see it going. That if it's something that is deemed needed and we want to go that way, that's when she helps put a policy and procedures in place to help fund them.
In other counties, it's not like necessarily a law enforcement officer, right?
I don't know. I think some are, some aren't. And that's why gosh, what was her name? Hannah, I think, I can't remember. According to Donna, she recommends it being that way because of, with the neglect cases and abuse cases.
Rather than condemning not to an officer, they have the authority and powers of the state to go ahead and start an investigation, make an arrest, charges, whatever.
Seize the animal if they have to. So,
Are crimes against animals, are these things that we take people into custody for generally? I mean, or how often a year does something like that happen? A couple times a year, or?
generally we don't, and I think, again, according to her and Deputy Hurt, it's a lot because not everyone knows the laws on them. They're just different laws that most people get in this business not really to be an animal control.
To be a dog catcher.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming more, and I know that's, the prosecutor's office was there on the initial meeting, and they're invited to this meeting also, and they're very much supportive of it. I think you're seeing a lot more, and that's the increase of what we're getting, is some of the dogs that are not being, I guess maybe where the person is not being charged, and the belief is they probably should have been. Or could have been. So.
When I read your email, I was wondering, this is not necessarily driven by the fact that the veterinarian that you referenced is retiring, or is it? Is it
I think
driven
it's
by
a little
that?
bit of both, because I think we heard rumors that he is or he is, and I'm not sure that he is, but I think it was one of those where it's kind of gotten to our office of, what are we gonna do if he does? Where are we gonna go? And then we had sent Deputy Hurt to an animal control school maybe a year and a half ago, and she had learned a lot of things about it. So she's kind of been doing a lot with the animals right now. And she was the one that was trying, and just kind of briefly talking to other maybe veterinarians in the county, and it's not something that they're just like, oh yeah, we'll take on that too. So I think it's just kind of got started as far as like, what are we gonna do if he retires? Where are we gonna go with these dogs?
The only suggestion, or the only thing I was going to say on that, I think you're right. He's probably going to retire sometime next couple of years or something like that, from his clinic, which he has on the north side of town. But he also has a facility at his home, and I didn't know whether he would be interested in continuing the services he does for you in that. So I don't know if you've had that conversation with him.
Not that I'm aware of, no. But when we started looking into it, we noticed that Jasper does something completely different than we do. Huntingburg does something completely different than both of us. So it's more of a kind of get on the same page type thing. So
Just
just
like
like
Jasper
Jasper.
Street Department takes the dog, I think our highway department should probably take this job on. Don't you think?
That's how to drop your phone again.
I was just waiting for one of you to say something, but no, long story short, I think it's
Someone doggy jail at your place?
yeah, iguanas and
No, we're good.
all kinds of things. Anyway,
I think it'd be a learning
I
experience
think it's
for all
worth
of us,
looking
and
at.
it may go nowhere, but I
Worth
think
looking at.
it's worth looking.
If you decide what you're doing is working, if he were to
Yeah.
somehow continue to help you out, why, might have a conversation with him.
so is someone on the board, do they have an interest in attending the meeting on August 16th at 10 a.m.? Hearing none, I'm interested, I'll go. I'll just put that in my calendar and.
Just so we know.
No, I think it's interesting, and if nothing else, we need to have a plan. What are we gonna do? Because we've had at least 2 instances where we've had to house animals long-term, and it's been expensive, and there's been, problems, so. We don't wanna have those problems either, and we don't wanna put animals to sleep whenever they have bad owners,
Right.
There's just a lot to it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely what we're looking into.
Okay.
Does that sound
Appreciate
good? I mean, you guys
No,
really
I'm
wanna
good
fight
with
me
that.
on that, do you?
No,
You got it.
All right.
And
this looks like a committee that could take several years, so I think.
you'll do it in retirement, that'll be what you'll do?
Take dogs in retirement, right?
I could do a lot of things in retirement.
That'd
I'm
be
sure that's
cool.
one of them.
Sheriff, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
How you doing?
How you?
You got anything to add?
No, sir.
All right.
No, sir. Covered it.
Sounds good. I think that's that.
August 16th, do I need to bring that up? I don't need anything about that meeting, you said August 16th.
No, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. All right, now's the public comment section. I don't see a lot of that gonna happen. Kevin, you got anything to add?
You know, I will add one thing. You guys know Greg Jones that spoke earlier from the SIDC?
We do now.
No.
Okay. I know him personally. I sit on that board for the SIDC for years. I mean, I've been on 12 years, I think. He's a legitimate guy. He's sharp as a tack. I mean, I was a new member whenever the old guy retired, so I've been with him from the start. And I just like to throw that out there for, I know Elmer knows him, but he's a legit guy. He's smart, sharp. I've heard him pitch this to several other counties and stuff. So, I mean, I would really look into that, consider it. If he, you know, I guess I'm not trying to help the boy out, but if he's involved, it's worthwhile. I mean, I have that much faith in him. If anybody can make it work, it would be him. And his organization.
One of my other questions was that I didn't know if it was, I was wondering why Indiana 15 isn't doing it if it's important. Maybe it's just a project they've chosen not to take, but I was gonna ask our local people.
I can answer that. You can only have one land bank in one area. And they're taking it and running with it. So, I mean, it's not going to be a part of it, Davis County. You know, so.
It looked like they were covering the uplands area. And we are part of the uplands area, but not all of Region 15 is part of the uplands area.
Right.
I don't know if, obviously not all of his area, maybe all of his area is part of the uplands area. But there are parts of the uplands area that are not in his area. Did I get that
right? Like I said,
We know what you mean.
I'm not holding up for him. It's just I felt like I caught the tail. You know, I came in after he was talking, but I just thought, you know, you guys might.
I think for us, we just don't have that much need for it in Nicholas County.
I bet you'd be surprised. Oh.
All right, I'm looking through the rest of my notes. I don't think I have anything additional.
I don't either.
The only thing I will add is I went to a state commissioner meeting last Thursday and expecting a report from the study committee on public health. They gave us a written report, but they're coming back with an oral report in September. But I will forwarded it to Becky because she was asking about it. She knew that it was a possibility that they were going to give a report and asked me to then send her a copy. I'll forward you a copy of that written report as well. That I'm talking about the study committee that Luke Kenley and Christina Box are involved in, how to improve public health in the counties throughout the state. Okay. This is a draft report. It of course would require legislation before anything would become official. I'll include you on that, Mike, as well.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just
You
setting
want
myself.
a break?
Sure. Just trying to set myself a reminder for that meeting, so I'll make sure that I get there.
He spoke at that community, county council meeting. Those people, they were up at that county council meeting, gave out a long presentation on that health.
On public health?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm good.
While cleaning out the corner, or while moving the weights and measures into the corner office, we found some old computers that we need to get rid of. I don't even know what's on them.
Were they property of the coroner?
I don't know, but there's 2 of those, and then I have 1 computer that I'm gonna wipe over in our office, and there's 3 monitors that I need to get rid of that don't work.
Katie said she has.
I have not spoken to Katie, but
I guess I'd run by her just in case that she thinks she has
but
something
Scott
on.
brought them to me to get rid of, so I don't know if he's talked to her or.
Put it in perspective, it's a gateway.
Saw that one.
I said, just put it in perspective, one of them was a gateway.
Oh, a gateway.
Well, you're thinking of
Computer, I'm thinking.
It had Netscape Navigator.
Is that like Atari or?
I don't know, these might have been stuff from Bob, they've been sitting down there in that office, I don't know.
They're very old.
Right, I just want
I'll move that we declare those items surplus pending, the coroner having an opportunity to weigh in on it.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Great.
The odds that there's anything on there she needs are about zero, but you throw it away and it's like, oh, that's.
Oh my God, I left my floppy disk in there.
Yeah, what-
I usually pull them out and give them to people. I do have somebody who will take old monitors that don't work for the stuff inside of them. They do stuff with digital. They look at the wiring. So would you rather me give them to them or just give us Scott to recycle it and it costs us then?
I'll take them.
What?
So somebody willing to take them?
No, they just want monitors.
Right,
I'd say at this time it's fine to let them do that.
because monitors don't have any.
There's no
critical
more
information to do on them.
Right,
Look out the old ones.
no, they're not.
All right, I see no other business, we'll close.
There's notice Greg Schneider is out of the office.
I am hoping to make it back sooner or later.